This show is brought to you by Loud and Opinionated.
Welcome to the January 4th, the inaugural Loud and Opinionated football podcast, of 2019. And we watched some pretty bad semifinal games, didn't we, gentlemen? I'm here with Jake Williams and Brandon Plecker. We're all fans of different college teams, so whenever we can agree on anything, remember that.
Yeah. Put a little timestamp, clip it out, make sure it's not out of context. I hated them so bad that I did an episode on loudandopinionated.com about how we got to blow up this system.
Absolutely.
Because it's not working. We're getting the same two teams every year.
It's
and
the BCS championship.
It is. It's been the same game 3 years in a row, and now last year it was for the semifinal, but it was still basically the national championship game.
Right.
I think everyone thought that either one of those teams would win that championship game.
But this is what we wanted, right? So
it is.
Then if we say this isn't what works, how do you create what works?
Yeah, I don't know. To me, 8 teams has to be the way to go because, you know, I've seen people react to me on Twitter when I said when Oklahoma was just getting trounced, I was like, so this 4-team system works, huh? Because only 1 year has this ever actually worked, and that was the first one, right? Because ever since then, it's...
Technically, the number 4 seed has won 2 out of the 5 college football playoffs.
Right.
With Ohio State in 16 in the first one, and then Alabama last year was the 4 seed because they
had lost
win the
before.
SEC, but they let them in anyway.
Yeah, but that's the problem because 4 out of those 5 years, Alabama's been in the championship.
Yes.
4th in a row out of the 5 years.
Yes.
It's
and they've
nuts.
been in the playoff all 5 seasons as well.
Yeah. And that's nothing. When I talk about this, it has nothing to do with the teams. It's not the team's fault they're that good.
Yeah, they are very good. They
Right,
deserve most years, but last year was maybe the exception.
You can't
but
say
then
they're
they won
not
the
a
whole
top
thing.
4 team. So that's the
Exactly.
argument, you know.
But that's all, why is that the argument just for that one team?
I don't know. I think the best route, and we're gonna really talk about this because we all three. This is the one thing we agree about. Then we all three have something we don't agree on. We all have different ideas for how the playoff system should be.
We disagree on a lot of things.
So I'll throw my hat in the ring first because here's what I think. I think you have to do 8. I think that's the only way to go because then everybody's represented in your Power 5 conferences, and then you have a team like UCF, you have a Georgia who could be your other wild card, and I don't know who else would you throw in there? Michigan.
UCF.
I already said UCF.
UCF
Okay.
as a non-top team or a non-top conference team.
Right.
I believe that is a good system to have with one of those smaller schools having a chance to make it.
But then the question is, what qualifies the smaller school to make it? Because if the best,
What if they're not very good?
if the best not Power 5 school is a 10-3 Fresno State team, that's not what you want. They would get dominated.
Yeah.
But what if they win?
It could be like a 16 seed in the NCAA basketball tournament.
Yeah, right.
It could be. But, that's only happened once in I don't know how many
15,
years.
Last
15s
year,
have
wasn't
won a
it?
lot.
Yeah, it was last year.
Yeah.
There have been a good amount of 2s that have gone down in the tournament. And so that's why I think expansion would be a good thing because of how we look. Think of how we look at our own team when they make the college basketball tournament that's a successful season.
Yes, I agree.
So if you kind of narrow that down into a smaller scale for the smaller amount of Division I football teams, you create something where it's more than a participation ribbon that you get. You made the championship, and it's more than 4 teams, so it is an accomplishment for just about all teams that reach that level, I would think.
Well, we
It's hard to
also
get in the top 4.
Right.
right.
Bama's going to be there.
There's at least
Clemson almost, Clemson
There's
as
at
well.
least
So
only
there's
2
2
spots you can fill. Yeah. With 8 teams though, I think it adds a little bit more value. It gives a little bit of value back to the bowl games, I think. Because right now, bowl games don't matter. There's
No
only
one cares. It's at least the top bowl games.
There's only
To the
big
point
ones.
where they are just canceled. and not rescheduled.
Unless you make I would suggest making the New Year's 6 your template to have the playoffs in it. Mm-hmm. That should be your playoff system.
I like that.
It works.
But so you're saying
you got the original BCS games, and then you got the Cotton Bowl. Why is the Cotton Bowl and the Peach Bowl in there? Why are they?
Peach Bowl is a new bowl, I believe, from the college football player. I don't believe it was
based off of money and sponsorship
before.
and also size of stadium and the stadium available is
Cotton
what
Bowl
makes
is played
it
in Arlington, which is the
It's played at Cowboy Stadium. Yeah,
exactly.
So what we can assume we've all just said we don't know much about the Peach Bowl, but we can assume that this is a man that said, I have the stadium and I have the money. I want one of these games here.
It existed before, but it wasn't as big as it is now. It was like it was New Year. It was always New Year's Eve. And
right.
the
Big Southern Bowl. The Big Southern Bowl was the Cotton Bowl.
And then it became the Sugar Bowl because the Sugar Bowl was the BCS one.
Right.
We're getting in the weeds, but what I'm saying is that's the way to go. You take those important bowl games and you make them your playoff system because sure, like a team like Texas going to the Sugar Bowl, that's a big deal. Not a 3-win or 3-loss team going to the Sugar Bowl, that's a big deal to them. And I'm not making excuses for Georgia because I thought it was hilarious that they lost to Texas. But a team like Georgia's not going to care as much. Cut it any way you want.
You see that in the Michigan game, possibly. I think Michigan has not played well in big games anyway. So I still think that that's a reason to look at.
I think
that was a big deal to Florida
because it was 41-7, right? That was the final score.
It was 41-15. Yeah.
Yeah.
I think it's what Michigan expects. The expectation put on the team as well as what the team thinks they'll be able to do each year. And so when they get to their bowl, they really don't care because they have underperformed
because they're not
what
a champion.
They thought. Yeah, because Michigan has started every year of the college football playoff and Jim Harbaugh era as we need to be that fourth team. This is the year we beat Ohio State, and they don't do it.
Can I just say, you give me a lot of shit for being a Nebraska fan.
I'm the Big 12 guy in the room.
I
just dissected that.
Here's the thing. Michigan fans are just as bad as Nebraska fans because Michigan gets relevance, then blows it. When's the last time Michigan was a big deal in a BCS game? What, 2011?
Michigan is relevant to an extent.
They lost an Orange Bowl
to the point where
to Jimbo Fisher.
If Ohio State's playing Nebraska, they don't move that to Saturday night.
No, but they will Michigan.
Would they will Michigan? Michigan State.
No,
Michigan.
that's because they have a brand because ESPN has their head up Michigan's ass.
But think if it's Michigan versus Georgia, week 2, neutral site. That's a Saturday night game because it has implications.
Yeah, but when's the last time?
Because
you don't know what those teams are going to be.
That's because it's non-conference.
That happens a lot in week 1.
But the last time Michigan won a championship is when they shared one with Nebraska in '97.
I don't think that any championships should count that are before an actual game between 1 and 2.
Yeah.
If it is awarded to you by a newspaper, you did not play for that championship.
Well, I know that depending on who you talk to, they'll claim the champion. I think because Nebraska was number 1 when they won when Nebraska was number 1 after they won their bowl game, I thought they were the champion. Because if you're number 1, but that was 97. What are we talking about? That was 21 years ago. Point is, Michigan fans are just as bad as Nebraska fans. That's what I'm driving at. And I'm driving at we don't need as many bowls either. We don't need 34 bowl games.
I think the amount of bowls is fine if you just recreate what the bowls mean.
Well, yeah, it's fine and good for teams like 6-6 Purdue and Boise State or UCF.
There is
smaller schools as a deal.
Financial benefit on the school and hosting city and fan base side to a bowl game where you sell apparel, you fill up all the hotels in the city. It's really worth it from every aspect, and I think it does. It's a pat on the back. You had a winning season. You get an extra game. I think it is from someone that has played sports, and sometimes, man, I just wanted that one more. If I could just go out there again. And a bowl game really is, it's not for anything. It's not even for bragging rights because you're not playing a team you're going to play next year.
No, yeah, they don't matter.
It is completely for just, it's a victory lap I mean, and Iowa State,
That's exactly
we're not taking
why.
a victory lap, but a bowl
That
game
game
for
was
both
bad.
teams should be a victory lap. Is just you had a good season. And so that's why you should.
I
keep
don't.
them.
I'm not saying completely erase bowl games, but I'm thinking, do we really need 34? Because that's quite a bit. But I think if we, it's hard because you have 130 teams, and you're right. You do want to award teams for having a winning season and doing a good job. But it's like at the end of the day, there's only 2 big ones that matter, and then your championship.
So then you make more that matter.
That's why I said New Year's 6 matters that way, and I'm agreeing with you. I just think we gotta.
How would you set up the time schedule for those games? If you have a 8-team or a 10-team playoff, you're gonna have 3 games for some teams. How are you gonna? Is that gonna be a whole month long like the NFL playoffs is? Are you gonna play college football into
Who was
February?
even caring about the college football playoffs 3 weeks ago? All football talk was about the NFL because I think that these important bowl games could start 2 weeks before they do. It's the big deal that is New Year's, which is why they're where they are, I think. And you can move them forward.
Hell, you could play them on like right after Christmas, or right like a few days before, or a day or so after. You could start playing those games.
Yeah,
they pretty much did it this year. It was the 29th.
It brings a better. I guess it would bring a better product to the.
I agree.
To the games because a month later, teams are not as sharp. They haven't played in 4 months. They haven't played.
Right.
There's a lot of
that type
high-level
of-
games this year where it looked like
One
a team
team was ready and the other team wasn't.
spending a little too much tourism time in that city.
Oh yes, yeah, Alabama especially.
Georgia.
Ooh.
And
I'll give them credit. Oklahoma
Notre
played well
Dame.
in the second half.
it just
Notre Dame just wasn't good enough. I don't think.
Notre Dame is a joke until they
every
get in the
single
conference.
good win they had this season didn't pan out as you went throughout the entire season, like Stanford.
Yeah.
Like who was the other?
But Syracuse,
Oh, no, but
is what
Syracuse
somebody-
had 10 wins.
Yeah,
They did.
That's what.
Yeah, but Syracuse.
That's what my friend Dan said to me. He was like, "But Syracuse, whatever."
Okay, in the ACC,
The
one of the
ACC
worst.
was not good.
There's
The
only
Atlantic Coast does not have.
There's only
much good
3
college
Power
football.
5 conferences right now that really, out of the 5, there's only 3 that really matter, and two of the worst ones are the Pac-12 and the ACC. They're both terrible. And yeah, hanging your hat on beating, what was Stanford's record, like 8-4, 9-4,
8-5, I think.
8-5,
at the end, yeah.
like hanging your hat on that. And who else did you play? Virginia Tech, and they barely made a bowl game.
Virginia Tech had to play a final game after the Iowa State.
Yeah, they played an
their
extra game
Drake
after.
They did that to get their 6th win to make a bowl game.
So then,
They were 5 and 6
so if
before
Notre
that.
Dame had one loss, does the committee still put them in, or
No,
do they
no way.
take?
No
They would
way.
take Georgia.
Yeah,
Oh yeah,
So,
or Ohio
or
State.
yeah, maybe even Ohio
but
State.
that's really all it takes is scheduling 12 teams that you scheduled. You scheduled 4 Power 5 teams that are going to have a winning
It's
record.
like we talked about with Michigan. It's a brand.
Oh, it's definitely a brand. It's definitely national name recognition, and that wouldn't change no matter how many teams you have in the
You
playoffs.
saw they brought 2/3 of the fans to that game against Clemson, where they
Right.
got destroyed. Like,
right.
Yeah.
They still had over
Oh yeah,
2/3 of the fans
they
there,
have an excellent fan base.
so they're good
In
for
every
the bowl
city,
game.
there's Notre Dame fans.
Yeah, it's really weird. You don't think
Yeah,
like,
Catholicism is weird.
oh man. I told Ashley about Touchdown Jesus. She didn't think that was a real thing.
Oh, it's
I'm like,
it's a
no,
really
it's
cool
this
thing, even
giant
in the video
painting
games, yeah.
that you can see at the end of like one of the end zones. And she didn't believe me, and I showed it to her.
Yeah, touchdown Jesus is really cool, but they need to call Jesus for a touchdown sometimes, and it definitely showed, and why they shouldn't have been in the playoffs.
Yeah, they were bad.
So Notre Dame has
They were not good at all. There's one specific moment, and I think I talked about it in the last podcast I did. There's one specific moment. There's that fumble that like looked like it was going out of bounds, and then kind of ricocheted it back in, and Notre Dame recovered it.
Yeah.
I thought the review was the right call, but that moment changed the game.
Yeah,
that was the
especially
moment
since
where
when Clemson went down and scored another touchdown.
right. That was a little bit of that. That's the thing when you play those two teams. That's the amount of window of opportunity they had to win. That one play. Because then after that, they couldn't do anything.
there really has been a top tier of 2 teams. And so even though we finally got some semblance of a playoff system, we're in an era that it really
It's still
didn't
dominated by
matter.
2 teams.
Yeah, exactly. If you had a 64-team college basketball playoff when John Wooden's UCLA Bruins were winning like 8 out of 10 with Walton and Kareem Abdul-Jabbar or Lou Alcindor, would it really have mattered how many teams are there because of how powerful the top team is? Like how UConn's women's just ended a streak at like 120 something straight wins.
Oh my!
2014 was the last time they lost.
Like,
holy hell!
Outside of the people that might challenge them, like South Carolina or sometimes Baylor, Tennessee, or whoever.
Notre Dame, I think, won the championship last year.
Notre Dame as well. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Does it really matter the other teams that are in? And so
that's what's weird about basketball.
Yeah. Well,
it's the one
basketball
game.
has more parity.
It's the one game.
Yeah.
I don't like. That's what would make the college football playoff good. But that's why in the NBA, the Warriors always win because. You have to win 4 games, not one game.
They might slip up once.
They could miss one game.
Right.
You could see a 8 seed beat a 1 seed.
The law of
more
averages
it doesn't happen,
comes out, and the better team wins the more times.
And most of the times they're in a series. That's why.
I mean, at any level of football, it's not realistic to have a multiple game series.
Yeah, it's not. I agree, but that's why it was always LeBron versus the Warriors every year because in 4 games, it didn't happen very often.
Which is so crazy because the NHL. They play the same amount of games as the NBA does, and they have you have to win 16 games to win a championship in the playoffs.
4 out of 7,
which is so wild because it's like a whole nother season because it's a whole nother 2 months.
Because it's last
hockey plays
forever,
in the summer for their championship. The same as
Yeah, they start the same time the NBA does.
They're winter sports.
It's crazy.
They both start at the same time and they both end around the same time.
They could go over like what from the World Series almost to the All-Star break. That's nuts. NBA ends in June now.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so does the NHL early June.
Yeah,
and it's
because MLB ends in November. That's when the World Series generally is.
October. But
October
theirs isn't as long.
Season, the World Series is generally in November.
Theirs isn't as long because it's only.
It starts
the
in
first
April,
round
though.
is of 5. It's best of 5 the first round.
It's
and then
one.
they do
That's
the 7.
one game.
Yeah.
And they only have. No, never mind. Everyone has 3 rounds.
But like how
No, 4 rounds in the NBA because you have 3.
Right, the 3 in conference and the championship. It's 4 round. But I mean, like basketball and hockey, they both have the playoff system that works for them, and they know they're going to get the champion.
Oh, it's great.
Do we know that in college football? I mean, we know Bama is that team.
Let me ask you a more bleak question. Will it ever be right?
Oh man, what is?
They always want to make everything better.
But I mean, we can say that we have a pretty good college basketball playoff. I think you can get to a point where.
But people still talk about expanding that.
Well, you know,
which is ridiculous.
Whatever, because if you're the 70, you want it expanded. If you were the 70th team, you're one of the first 4 out. You want it expanded, and that's why. And I think that 68 is fine. The 3 playing game.
I thought it was 64.
3 extra playing games. Well, it was the 64/65,
but now to 60.
But now we have the play-in weekend,
right?
Instead of just the play-in game, which I like. I think it's cool, and so that's why that's kind of what I would do with my college football playoffs is have a play-in style game.
But that's the thing, Paul. We had a play-in style game, and everybody bitched about it.
But that's not a play-in game. That's a winner-take-all game.
How is it not a play-in game?
Because you're giving.
You think Alabama won? Okay, so you think Alabama would have stayed in no matter what?
So if you say that if a BCS championship is a play-in game, you're saying that the regular season is your resume.
I
mean,
I was talking about
it doesn't. I
was talking about the SEC championship.
Well. And you could still have how many times?
There are lots of arguments about that.
Right. How many times is a non-conference winner? Alabama won a national championship without winning their conference.
They didn't even play in the conference championship game.
That happens.
Right.
They didn't even win their division.
Right.
That happens in college basketball. That happens in the NFL, where a team doesn't win their division or win their conference and they still win a championship.
That's true. And so that's why I think you need more wild card style teams in college football, where you can have. Maybe not a UCF could pull it off, but you put a Florida or Texas is hot right now, and Texas could do damage. They could have beat Notre Dame.
They probably wouldn't have played in the top 10 anyway.
But
I agree with what you're saying.
It's players that have been on the stage. They've played against big dogs. They know what to do. And if you put one of the higher tier 10-win teams in it, there's a much better chance of them getting a win than if you have a 14 playoff. In a 14 playoff, it's going to be 1 and 2 that win. How many times has it been 1 and 2 that won? I think the only time that it wasn't was when
number 4 won.
it was Bama and OSU, right?
Yes.
Yeah. So you need something more than 4 because it will create more parity at a playoff caliber level.
And it'll make the best teams, their best players, play longer because a lot of them sit out the bowl games now because they don't care. They're going to the NFL.
Right.
But if there's a chance for a championship, they will play.
Absolutely, yeah. So
you're seeing better players from more teams.
Right. So if you have 10 teams, you do it kind of like a combined 2 conferences of the NFL, where you have the top 2 teams have a bye, and you have 2 play-in games, and then the next round would be.
Here it is. Here's the Paul Robidoux playoff solution.
That's right. I actually have documented the top 10 BCS since 2014 and put them into my standings and what it would look like. And you're telling me, so, and here's where I want to start with this, because people say, oh, 10's too much. So here's where I want to start with this. Brandon, if you could say that Iowa, hey, we've been in a college football playoff, have you? Would you say that to every other Big Ten West and Iowa State and everybody else? Would you take it as we've been to the top? We battled them.
Not that they won, that they just played.
Because in 2015, Iowa finished.
They were in one of those semi-quote quarterfinal games.
Correct.
In the Big Ten championship game.
So I have that here. In 2015, if they would have used my single elimination 10-team bracket, you have Iowa as the 5 seed, and they would have played Oklahoma in the first round, which keeps them away from the other 2 seeds close to them, because here's where it got tricky. The 3 and the 6, who would then play each other, Brandon, that year, would be Michigan State and Stanford. So Michigan State and Stanford would play a first-round game against each other, and after Michigan State bullies Iowa. And Iowa
skips out on Stanford and doesn't get...
Right, so they instead, you play Oklahoma, and against... Oklahoma, it's probably not a win for Iowa.
Probably not.
But
Oklahoma's high-powered offense.
But you made the top 10 to the point you got the invitation to the tournament.
That's right.
And so I think that's where fans need to start looking at it as more of this will be a banner in your basketball arena.
And it should be just like it is in high school sports.
Exactly.
Yeah, it still should be a big deal.
Exactly.
High school sports, even if you make the football playoffs, but you're the 4 seed. We got a banner, and we were the 4 seed, and we were 4-4.
Exactly.
And we got a banner because, like, for our school, which is you don't see that and that'd be what he's talking about with the Iowa Hawkeyes. They're usually 8-4, 8-5, around there.
Unless
but that one year they were 12-2, or
So
12-2. Unless you're Alabama
recognition for that season.
or Clemson. That's a big deal to any school.
Absolutely.
Well, most schools, I would say, because...
But UCF would have been in it back-to-back years. And
that would have been a big thing.
That would have been a point of pride in Orlando for the next 30 years. Back-to-back football playoffs.
And that's how you start becoming an actual perennial
gigantic
power.
for...
You have to start
help
somewhere.
with scholarships and recruiting. And
gives them a chance to win Florida in recruiting, which is what they would have to do.
And because they made it that way, every school has 85 scholarships. Every school has the same rules. So it would be, you're right, a big bargaining chip for a smaller school, and it would only help build them up. I don't like that I'm liking this system.
Oh, it gets easier and easier.
I don't like it.
The more you read my 12-page essay about how to change college football. Which
12 in his spare time. This is what Paul does.
That's without the graphics. But you really got to figure out how to make the pieces fit together in realignment of conferences, reforming the playoff system, and your regular schedule and how you schedule teams. And that's how you make it. Well, you can make it like you'll have a problem with the playoffs if we don't fix the conferences, and vice versa.
Oh my God! Don't tell me this is all a ploy of your seismic shift.
No, this is
That's
just
a different
about
episode.
How if we would just use a 10-team playoff with this year's everything, we would have a 7-10 matchup of Michigan Florida.
Which we saw.
We know. We know what
memo.
happens. We know what happens.
Get the memo.
But then the other opening weekend game, UCF and Washington in the 8-9.
That'd be fun.
I would tune in, and UCF had the lead on LSU. They had them where they won them for a little bit at the beginning.
The last 2 games for UCF showed me why they're nowhere near the top, one of the top football teams.
Also,
even though they're winning, because that Memphis game was
bizarre.
bad. They gave up over 200 yards rushing to
Memphis
one player
had a better
and a
year
half.
than expected.
Yeah, but they shut him down the second half.
But you're right. But they were a one-dimensional offense that could only run the ball, and they gashed you at that one thing. You're supposed to have a good defense. You should be able to stop a run up the middle.
Yeah.
That's what they were doing.
Right.
It's different than the pass where the guys are just faster than you. It's power right up the middle. That's where you're supposed to have a strength as well. And then they did it again with LSU.
I actually watched the Fiesta Bowl from start to finish, and this is to add to your point. The reason why people dog on UCF so much, they had a 14-3 lead in that football game.
Right.
Back-to-back touchdowns. They had a touchdown and a pick six.
Pick six.
All the momentum was there, and then they just couldn't compete with LSU's
Their offensive
line crushed them. Like their running back was getting 6, 7, 8 yards.
That's
a
where
carry.
you
It was
use
nuts.
back-to-back playoff appearances as a huge recruiting chip, and you're ready next time.
I don't think.
I agree. That's
and
what
so
that
that's
was.
where that's where UCF is still not being able to utilize what they've done with 2 undefeated regular seasons, which they should be able to use more than they are by getting into the playoffs and then making that recruiting pitch that we're just getting started.
That's why I thought they should have accepted that deal with Florida, but that's just my opinion.
Oh,
It's
come
3
on,
games
that's-
against Florida, though. I understand that it's not equal, and Florida, that's showing Florida's dominance over the UCF that they can do that, but
Right.
win the game.
Yeah.
If you're better, just win the game. That's all it comes down to, right?
But
Winning the game.
that's the deal that a Big Ten team gives to a MAC team.
I agree.
And
But
that's where
but-
UCF feels slighted and disrespected.
But they're in the smaller conference. Mm-hmm. That conference
how
that
you
they
get
play
respect.
in. That conference that they play in plays UConn. They were 0-11, 0-12.
Oh, yeah, no, they were historically horrific.
Terrible.
Paul, their
Offensive.
Saturday night
That's a team that you
football.
played
So
this year.
Their
UConn.
Their
Right.
Saturday night football game, like their big time prime time game, was against Cincinnati, the Bearcats.
That's a product of the conference.
That's
Yeah,
what I'm saying. That's why he's right. They should have done that deal with Florida because that's the only. Even
They could have got a Saturday primetime game,
beat
week
Auburn.
2, Florida, UCF.
Right.
They even beat Auburn
In-
last year and nothing came of
Yeah.
it.
But I think
that's 'cause-
Auburn was a total fluke last year.
Oh
Like,
yeah, they're
Really?
bad. They showed this year how
showed
bad they
two.
were.
They had 2 miraculous plays that won them the Georgia and the Alabama game to make that SEC championship game, where Georgia killed them in the championship game, and then they got beat by UCF. Following that, to go back to 9-3, that was their final record. It wasn't even a 10-win team.
Also, I'd like to point out for clarity, Bama fans, you do enough to be annoying. Stop talking about that Fiesta Bowl and saying, like, for clarity, Alabama scored 29 points and beat this team 29-0. Alabama is not UCF. Okay, so stop trying. It's apples and oranges. Okay, stop picking on UCF. They don't compare because Alabama.
UCF wants to be compared, though. They want to be
That's true.
they proclaim themselves as national champions, which Alabama won. Alabama dominated the team that you got dominated
It's
by.
not the same. It's not the same.
It's not the same.
It's
It really that I
How is it
don't
not
I
the
do
same?
not subscribe to the
It's not the same
I beat
because-
you because they beat you and I beat
No, it's not that. It's not that.
It's
It's not
saying-
who won. It's how they won. How they won.
Okay.
Alabama gave up 0 points and like 100 yards.
Yeah, but
But
it's-
you're
it's-
using
this-
you're using
the
the,
reason-
aberration to
in
prove a
LSU.
point. I don't.
The reason
I
it's
still,
not a fair comparison is not
you can't
everybody's
use
Alabama.
Bama. Yeah.
That's my issue with that. Not
But
everybody.
you said you beat Alabama
But
by
you
being
can't-
national champions. They did the exact same thing last year that you're
UCF
saying that I can't do in the
I'm
Alabama.
not saying that was right. I'm
But
not
you-
saying that was a good thing. But I'm
UCF
saying
doesn't want to be compared to the Bama Clemson level because no one realistically
That's
should believe
that's
they're on the
unfair.
Bama Clemson level. They want to be compared to Florida, Michigan,
Then why do
Texas,
they not wanna play?
USC.
They want to keep playing their little schedule and then just keep winning their 12 games and do what?
he's got
Get
a point.
invited like Notre Dame did.
Boom.
They did that last year and they didn't make it.
Exactly,
name-
and so
can-
that's where it's not fair. Notre Dame got in with an undefeated, not
Who was
Power
UCF's
5
best win?
conference.
Who was UCF's best win?
Who's Notre Dame's?
Michigan. They beat
guarantee
Michigan.
you- I
Pittsburgh, I
guarantee
think.
They beat
you-
Michigan. Michigan was 10-2. They were the number 4 team in the
I
country.
know for a fact that I can say this right now with almost no knowledge or research that I bet that UCF within the last 2 years has had a victory over a better team than Notre Dame has. I bet
Probably.
UCF's best win is against a better team than Notre Dame. What's Notre Dame? Did they play USC last year? I don't know. Or this year? Excuse
Yeah,
me.
yeah, they did. That was their last game.
Okay. so-
USC was like never good either.
but that
either
or
that or,
Syracuse versus
Yeah, it's usually that one.
UCF, and I know it's not this year, and comparable best would be the regular because they both had undefeated regular seasons. The only difference is it's a small conference versus no conference. I don't like that.
Here's how I look at it. I I have two minds about UCF.
This is the now that they have let Notre Dame in, it shows the hypocrisy of UCF.
But here's the problem, though. Here's why I had the two minds. UCF, yes, wants a seat at the table, and they should schedule better because that's the reason why Notre Dame gets in, and the reason why Oklahoma or that is they haven't built themselves up to be this big brand yet. That's the whole thing about college football. You just got to look pretty. That's all it is.
Oh, it's all
a
about
beauty
branding.
contest.
It's completely about branding.
So that's why they're not allowed at the table. And the reason I said it's not fair to compare to Alabama, that's like saying, oh, well, the Browns lost to the Steelers. But for posterity's sake, the Patriots beat them by 30 points. Like, they're not comparable. One team is the Browns, one team is the Patriots. It's not comparable.
But it is if you're comparing the same team. It is if you're comparing one team. If you're saying that statement, you're
being
comparing
an SEC powerhouse.
No, listen, no.
If you use them as an individual comparison
Hear 'em out.
and not as this equates, I hear what you're saying, Brandon. But
LSU's the same team, probably technically worse because they didn't have their best cornerback.
That's true.
And they didn't have their defensive line.
They had
backup defensive
10
linemen
players.
and kicked your ass.
Well, it's not the same. I'm not conceding the point. You're right, but I'm not conceding.
they're not where they think they are, UCF.
No.
And I'll
That's what I want to say.
I'll give you that point that and I agree. And so maybe they should take a deal like Florida gave them. But
if you're not playing against these teams more, you're never going to know what it's like to play them, be able to beat them.
I think they might be waiting for an invite.
Invite
The
to what?
ACC, the ACC or the SEC.
That's not going to happen.
They can still play Florida if they're in the ACC.
But
Not every year.
Florida State does.
Wouldn't be guaranteed.
Florida State does.
That's true.
that's because
But
that's
would
like
Florida really
that's like saying
want-
Iowa and Iowa State do. You know,
Why can't Florida UCF
because
if
it's
But I don't think
established.
Florida would want it.
Florida and
It's-
UCF doesn't have an established
It's an early
rivalry
season game.
with a trophy.
But you're right. If Florida thinks they're that much,
FSU and Florida play for a trophy. So does Florida and Miami, but they haven't played in like 4 years because their schedules just won't match, so they just don't do it.
But look at it this
they
way.
have a trophy.
Look at it this way. If you're Florida, though, I can see where he's coming from. Because if you look at it from, I made the statement that Florida wouldn't want it, and then after I said that, I thought, wait, no, they would, because they would definitely take that matchup every year. Because if they think they're as good as they are,
They wanna show
they
they're
think
the
it's
best
going to
in the
be.
state.
Oh man, every year we're starting 1-0.
Well, if they're the best in the state, why don't they offer a deal to FSU?
UCF.
That's where I would start.
Well,
FSU
shit,
has
man.
been-
I'm not gonna
FSU has
start
been
with
a.
If you're gonna do that, you got 7 schools you got to invite. Be like, hey, we got to prove we're the best in the state.
No, not like that.
It
like
becomes
just,
a state competition.
Right,
instead
it's a
of- yeah,
state
I see.
conference at this point.
They beat UCF, and they're a higher level of competition than FIU or
FAU, yeah, either of those teams.
Yeah, and so the three above them are Miami, Florida State, and Florida.
Well, it's always been 3 schools, yeah.
So you start with the weak one. I mean, if you pick them off, that's how you do it.
If you go with the weak one, you go with Miami. They can't even figure out their head coaching situation.
Miami-
Did you see that nonsense?
Oh yeah, that he took the deal.
Manny Diaz?
Yeah, after backing
Ooh,
out.
that was
Yeah,
dumb.
that's yeah.
That
he's-
happens more often than you would want to admit, though.
No,
Oh, I'm sure.
It's
colleges
unfortunate. It's
are
unfortunate for those
sleazy
schools.
and they lock
It
in
happens in the
recruits and then
NFL.
jump ship.
Bill Belichick did that. Before Bill Belichick went to the Patriots, he was going to coach the Jets.
Yep.
And then a couple months later,
Yeah,
was like,
Parcells told him not to.
peace out. I'm going to
Josh
go.
McDaniels did that last season.
Peace out. I'm coaching over here now. Yeah.
Yeah.
Which Temple, you're like, okay. You weren't really proven as a coach, so
Well, he was leading
coach.
He was leading one of the top defenses in the country.
A
That
year
was his-
ago, not this year.
No, this year they were still one of the best. They just
still
had a terrible
sucked.
offense. You're right. They weren't 12-0. Last year they shouldn't have been 12-0 either, though, because they won all those super close games.
I think Mike Richt.
It's another banner win or whatever.
Yeah, I think Mike Richt finally learned. He's like, I'll never win a championship, so I'm going to retire. You talk about one of the
Georgia.
what a
You mean Urban Meyer?
well,
He
Urban
finished
Meyer.
fifth. He finished fifth
He's
the
won-
last 2 years.
He's won 4 championships,
I think a big deal about it is
including one
he has
beating
finished
Alabama before that.
fifth the past 2 years. He has just missed out, and how much does that matter really to him? But something I heard.
Well, he was sick. He got a sickness. It was called his domestic abuser coach.
Yeah, it's called a scandal, you know, and he
handled it like a-
retires to then do something else and then come back.
He handled
And
it like a bitch, and he left like a bitch.
I heard Clay Travis on Fox Sports on our overnight say that he thinks that Urban Meyer is going to be back either the 2020 season or 2021, so not this next season, but after a season off, you're going to see him as the USC coach.
USC?
Yeah, and they like a big name coach, and it would really send a message to Chip Kelly.
The UCLA.
Right. So I kind of liked it, but I also just don't want to see him anymore.
I've
Not a fan.
I've spent 20 to 25 minutes sharing my thoughts on Urban Meyer. So everybody knows how I feel about Urban Meyer.
Yeah.
And as you saw, I called him a bitch because he is. Oh, I've got a heart attack. I'm going to spend time with my family. I have heart problems next year. Coaches Ohio State. Oh, the coach that I didn't know, beat his wife, even though I paid for their counseling after he beat his wife in Florida. That has nothing to do with this retirement.
I think that is something to do with it that he has. There was an
Oh, it
agreement
absolutely
that
is. It 100%
You're
is.
not going to fire me, and I'm just going to leave at the end of this year.
That was probably the agreement. That's how Ohio State handled it. We're like, just
Yeah.
leave at
Could've
the end
been
of the
a-
year.
We
Neutral
don't
thing.
want this. Yeah, we had this with the coach before you.
Yeah, yeah.
You can't keep ending with scandal.
Shit, I'll take tattoos over that mess.
Oh,
Domestic violence.
Yeah, Tressel was for a lot less, I feel like.
That was just the NCAA's stupid rules, and these kids were just trying to make some money.
NCAA rules.
They wouldn't be in that situation. They wouldn't violate. Like, it's amazing that in 2018 we still have slave owners like that. Are LeBron? You were wrong. The NFL owners are not the slave owners. It's the NCAA.
The NCAA, you should look at what you talk about because they are a nonprofit entity.
Okay. So how those billions of dollars that were spent on those playoff games? How much went to the players?
Just do you see the new athletic training facility?
Yeah, but they go to school for free.
Yeah, it's
Okay. Tell me how many of them are valedictorians, man.
college sports in a joke in a few ways, but the joke to figure out now is the college playoff system, and it needs to be 10.
It needs to be. Okay, so you have man. We just go off in tangents. That's kind of why I love this show. So UCF taking on Washington.
Yeah. And
Okay,
then-
for posterity's sake, let's all make a decision how this would play out. Who goes against UCF Washington? Who wins that game?
I want to say UCF. I just
Keep
wanna
in
say
mind,
UCF.
it has to be the majority vote.
The majority
rules.
vote. The majority
vote's gonna
vote.
be
I feel.
UCF. I think Washington will win.
Well, I think no. I agree
I
with
would-
you. I think it would be
I
Washington.
think Washington will win. Washington has been very good for
I actually
3
went with-
years in a row now.
Washington is an underrated team because
They
the
almost beat Ohio
Pac-12 beats itself up. They're kind of
No team is super dominant like in other conferences.
right, exactly, not exactly like the Big 12 because the Big 12 plays a full round robin for football, which does hamstring them. I feel the Big 12 or the Pac-12, excuse me, has a problem where there is not that Oregon anymore, and so they're
And
not
all-
getting the
They're
conference
coming back,
recognition east of the Rockies. Well, yeah, Mike Leach is great. Man. I can listen
all
to
of
Mike
their
Leach all
top
day.
teams play in the same division, so they all play each other every single year.
Right.
It's kind of
That's
like
a
the
great
Big Ten.
point.
Kind of like the Big Ten.
That's
a
You
great
have
point.
Oregon.
Yeah.
You have Oregon, Washington, and Washington
Well, it came
State.
down
This
to
is South,
it
right?
came down to
And
Washington,
the-
Washington State,
The North.
They're all in the North Division. Which,
South is all the California teams.
yeah,
And the
USC,
Zonas.
yeah, and Arizona. Yep. But they all play each other. With Stanford is in the North as well, so you got to add them as a fourth team who's been in the top 15.
I would have
which
said.
they're going to win
Conversation.
minimum 8. They're going to
Yeah.
win between 8 and 11.
And because they're playing each other, they might lose. All of them might lose.
Stanford's
2
made
games.
like 2 or 3 of the playoffs in my system that I went through this.
They're always consistently good.
UCF advances.
Honestly,
I'm just kidding. Washington
know-
advances to the next round.
the Pac-12, if you use 10 teams over these last 5 years, the Pac-12 would have more teams sent than the Big 12 or the ACC. Because they have an Oregon year, they have an Arizona year where they would have snuck in, and then they also have a Washington like the last 2 years, and Colorado.
Washington
when
made the playoff.
Exactly, yeah, and Colorado as well 1 year. They would have more than the Big 12 would only have 6, and that's the lowest of all of them.
Oh man, we have 2.
Man, the Big 12 really killed themselves. That
All right, so-
2014 was it?
They
Killed them that
were
year.
so focused on keeping Longhorn Network or keeping Texas happy to remain a conference because like K-State and Kansas and Iowa State and to like a little bit of like Baylor and Oklahoma State, they were so scared of Oklahoma and Texas saying, "Oh, whatever, we're just following
they're two
A&M.
big
We're
dogs
out. We're out,"
leaving.
because there was almost no money in the Big 12 without those two, and that's why they just did whatever Texas wanted to keep the Big 12 together, and they just panicked, grabbed a few teams, and they should have done a much better job of thinking of how to expand instead of just stay alive. They should have grabbed Louisville, and they should have sent an offer to BYU to try to keep Colorado.
Because it was just silly because you lost 4 teams out of that deal.
They ended up tying. And
Well, they
both
didn't.
got
They
fifth
didn't
and
think of
sixth, or
geography.
fifth and sixth.
West Virginia plays Iowa State in the final 2 weeks of every season because Iowa State is their closest geographical opponent, and they tried to create a rivalry.
Well, TCU made sense, but
TCU makes
West
sense.
Virginia
The same
didn't.
reason that Houston makes sense, or Memphis, when they were looking to, like 3 years ago, they said we're looking to expand, and we have narrowed it to 8 teams. And then 2 weeks later, they said we're not going to do it.
We're not gonna do
We're
it.
just not feeling it. And so they did this whole dog and pony show for nothing. The Big 12 has been a joke since Missouri and Nebraska and Colorado.
Oh, yeah,
and A&M
since
left.
everybody left.
Since the 4 that left, it has been a joke.
For those following at home, Florida beats Michigan because they beat him in real life.
Yep.
UW advances because you guys both said UW. I tried to say UCF. So here's the round we got. It's Alabama versus Florida in that one. Who wins in OU and Georgia?
I'm gonna give it to Georgia.
I would say Oklahoma.
And I think my vote is out of that. I do think that when it comes to top heavy, like the big guys in the SEC could knock out any top team in any of the other conferences. And I know that Texas just beat them. And Texas lost to Oklahoma like 2 weeks or a month ago. But I think Georgia would take that game.
I agree. I think Georgia.
Yeah.
I think Georgia will win. Georgia.
I'm just trying to be contrarian.
Georgia has the superior athletic players,
So it's gonna be
at all positions basically,
Right. That's-
except for
yeah.
quarterback, which no one has Kyler Murray, so that's not really a comparison as well.
Right.
Jake Fromm is a very good quarterback though. at
Jake
Georgia.
from State Farm. That's
Okay.
his Twitter handle. And I
All right, Ohio State beats Notre Dame, right? We all agree on that one?
I think that was my sneaky good game of this bracket. I think that would be the fun game is a Notre Dame Ohio State because I think it would be a lot closer than people are thinking right now.
I think Ohio State would win.
Yeah, I would say Ohio State. I think
I agree. I think Ohio State
That-
would win as well, but I think that would be the best game of any of these.
maybe I could see that because what Notre Dame did to Michigan and how well both teams played against Michigan.
Right, and then you have the advancing play-in teams where Clemson would beat Washington,
Obviously, Clemson beats Washington.
and then
Yeah, playing games.
and
Alabama obviously beats Florida.
and then Bama's Bama. So then we're
Wow,
still
super different guys.
exactly. And so that's
Bama,
what it comes
Georgia,
down to.
Clemson, Ohio State.
And so
It's
if you
different.
have here you are at the Final Four after
Kinda.
a round and a
Two teams
half,
different.
and the 4 teams that you have with how we think it would play out, the 4 teams you have are Bama, Georgia, Clemson, Ohio State. That's really close to what it would be this year. And so what you're doing is you're giving those other teams something to be proud of, even though they still played in a bowl game. Florida played in 2, and Washington played in 2, and they get a sense of pride of accomplishment of making this
They
top
won a
10.
college football playoff game.
Yeah.
The Florida and Washington both
Right,
won
and
a
so
game.
that's where the play-in
That's
game
something.
becomes so valuable
It's-
from a recruiting
That they
standpoint.
count those in NCAA tournament.
The Florida coach
Yep.
walks into your living room. I have won a college football playoff game. I know what to do at the level.
It's like when your NFL team gets in on a wild card, say even a 6th seed, and it's the same idea. They win their wild card game.
Right.
They might not win the
Right.
playoffs, but there's something to hang your hat on. And be
Like,
like, hey, we
Those count as playoff games.
realistically,
we were the 6th seed and we managed to get to the second round.
if Iowa did this and was a 5 seed in 2015 and made a college football playoffs, Iowa State would not be getting in-state recruits that they have right now. That's the truth, because Iowa is playing for college football playoffs,
Yeah,
on their easy schedule years.
makes me sick.
But so then you have Clemson and Ohio State, and I think we all know where we're
Clemson-
going from this point
Clemson
on.
dominant.
Clemson and Bama
Yeah.
chalk.
I
That's
see. I honestly think Clemson has a really good chance to win
with their
this game.
defensive line.
I think
I was
Clemson
reading
can
something about
win.
their quarterback.
Their quarterback is the number 1 recruit from 2 years ago. He was
Right.
the number 2 overall number 1 quarterback. He's 6'5", like he broke freshman records in touchdowns and yards this season, and he didn't even play the whole year.
yeah, he wasn't the starter. for a
He's the
couple
real
games.
deal.
Yeah.
He's a projected top pick when he is eligible for the draft.
Yeah.
Like they think he's the next.
Tampa will take
Deshaun
him.
Watson.
Maybe. Yeah.
And I think he's a true freshman, isn't he?
Yes.
He's not a redshirt. He's
No,
a true freshman.
freshman.
So yikes.
And
And that's the
so
problem because Alabama and Clemson are going to constantly
How
get
have
those
true
players.
freshmen performed against Bama?
Didn't Manziel win?
Jake Fromm was a true freshman last
Was
year.
Manziel a freshman when he won?
Manziel
Yes.
is
Yes, he was.
one of those like
We might have been a redshirt,
comets
but he was
that
still a
fly
freshman.
through the sky in college athletics. That's like saying, well, Jimmer dropped
life,
Jimmer
not just
dropped
in
40
college
feet.
athletics.
The train wreck
The
that
whole
happened.
thing.
Right. No, I wish.
Oh man, that was so much fun
I
to watch.
wish I could find tweets about me saying Money Manziel is never going to do anything in the NFL. But it's just like
well, nobody thought he was.
like
Somebody did. They drafted him 22nd overall.
nobody
Who
puts
drafted them? One of the worst
Browns,
poorly
you're
ran
the
sports
upside
teams.
Browns.
Except for they're going in the right direction. I think they might be a playoff team next year.
They're not going to be a playoff.
You don't
team.
think
I will put
We'll get
money
there-
on
we'll
it.
get there.
Give me the money line. Give me the money line for the Browns in the playoffs next year.
Well, this is
I'll-
recorded and this is going to go up on the internet, so we will have this. So around like November, we'll be like,
can revisit.
One of us was smart about this. One of us was an idiot.
Well,
My money is on me.
Realistically, look at the division.
They're all going down. The Ravens are on the up, and they're a young team, so I think they will stay.
But the
They will
Steelers
stay
can't
as a-
do. They
as a-
constantly.
We'll see
have
what happens with
trouble.
Lamar Jackson, obviously, but
The Steelers have to be viewed as one of those organizations that's always going to fight because they don't put up with losing and they value consistency over anything.
Oh yeah, they've been very good for a very long time.
and that's the thing. They've had two coaches since before I was born, right?
Yeah, they've only had 3 coaches in their whole franchise.
Right. So
It's nuts.
compare that to how many head coaches that the Browns had this decade.
Oh god.
this season.
Exactly. Right.
Or
So
like a Tampa fan. It seems like every 3 years we're getting a new coach.
the Browns are not going to win their division, and so
I'm
then
not
in a
saying that.
wild-
I'm saying they could get a wild card.
Yeah, I know, but then you can say that a team is going to be good and they can be better next year than they were this year and still not make the playoffs because it's like when you can say we need to fire our coach, but who is better to replace him with? You can say we're going to make the playoffs, but who are you going to beat next year that you lost to this year
The
to make the playoffs?
The NFC is tough. The AFC is tough.
Well,
as you can see, the Chargers and the Chiefs
the
look,
Chargers are a 5 seed.
and they're 12-4. They have the second
Yeah.
best, the second best record in the AFC, and they are the wild
Right.
card team. They have to go on the road.
Right.
I think they have a legitimate shot. We'll get to that.
We will. But to get to the first game that we talked about a little bit with Georgia and Texas, did you guys see that mascot battle?
He broke out of his cage. Is that what happened?
Yeah.
Well, they're trying to like.
It looked like he really saw and acknowledged that is a dog. And he really, like, if you watch the
And he's
footage,
thinking like, I could fuck that
like,
thing.
I don't know, but he acknowledges that there is a little living thing, not a human, walking in front, looking at me, and he looks at it and then charges and breaks out, and that dog was such a bitch. Oh my!
It's a,
What?
it's a
It's a-
massive.
It's a
longhorn.
bulldog going up
Yeah.
against a steer. Are you kidding
Yeah.
me?
Yeah, but
The dog has no chance.
no, it has no chance.
The dog reacted how I would be like, well, I guess this is how I
any
die.
person would run out of the way
The
too.
dog reacted like a pampered little dog, like my girlfriend's
Paul,
dog.
shut the fuck up. If I put a steer charging at you right in front of you right now, you wouldn't run out of the way. What are you gonna do?
But let's think about the mascots that wouldn't run out of the way. I'm so good at just finding the transition here.
Shut up.
Bro,
You're such a good host, dude.
Greg Gumbel in training.
Of all the names, you go with Greg Gumbel.
I know. Kurt Menefee. I like him better.
Or like Dan Patrick,
No,
or
Kurt Menefee.
I would say Cowherd, but you hate Cowherd.
Cowherd.
I love Cowherd.
No, Cowherd's the worst. If
I'm the only one that likes me. I'm
no,
okay with it.
I don't. If you don't take calls, I do not respect you as an analyst. Where you expect me
Even
to take
Alex
your word.
Jones takes calls.
Even Rush Limbaugh takes calls.
Whatever. He's great, and you guys just need to learn to love him.
But which mascot out of all the college mascots do you guys think would really win in a fight here? Out of if it's mascot on live mascot, not fictional mascots. It has to be an on-campus live mascot.
I take the LSU Tiger.
You're
LSU
taking
Tiger,
Mike
live
the
animal,
Tiger?
live animals.
Whoa. So let's look here. So Baylor's got 2 bears.
Baylor has 2 female live bears that I've actually seen in person in Waco, Texas, on campus. Yeah, they're lazy.
Why is
fat.
Texas A&M on this list?
Okay,
A
so
fucking
I was waiting for somebody to
lassie?
bring that up. No, technically that dog has to be addressed as ma'am by all cadets. That dog actually has a respected place of authority within the military bureaucracy in Texas A&M, which is a big part of that college. So
dog has
when
this.
researching live mascots.
You wonder why you always lose Texas A&M.
Well, you know what? If the dog can command somebody, those cadets know
Can't
what
talk.
to do. You know.
What is it gonna do?
What's he gonna say? How's he gonna
Bark
control
twice
him?
if you want me to sit down.
Very smart dog. But Bevo's the early.
So she dies immediately.
Bevo's the early favorite, right? I mean,
The Longhorn is.
Bevo, really?
It's tough.
he
To beat.
showed his
Yeah.
showed his balls this weekend. You know.
It's
But
hard to
here's
get-
the
it's hard to
thing.
get around him.
I almost got into just a straight up bird fight.
Are we
Because
fighting them?
Eagle-
Are we
eagle would
fighting
win.
these animals? Or are they?
What school's live mascot is the question here?
Of an eagle.
Yeah, so you got to give the school and like the bird, like Aurora, the Air Force Falcon,
Yeah.
or
I don't know.
How long did it take you to find that?
Auburn has.
Oh,
the
that
war
I
eagle.
mean, I found an article about what Fox Sports called the top 25 live mascots.
Oh,
I
the
just
best one.
basically-
What about Ralphie? Is he on here?
Oh, Ralphie's on here. Ralphie's
Ralph-
the man. Are you
I
joking?
wanna
That's
see-
my pick.
I want to see. Here's the thing: are we picking like who would be like? What's the criteria here? I'm sorry.
Who could? Claw to
live
the
mascot
throat,
would
1v1, one walks out. And so
okay.
honestly, I'm taking Baylor. If it's if
Bears?
it's teeth to the death, I'm
Okay,
taking the Bears.
But
I'm taking
who
the
is he
Tigers.
fighting? All of them?
There's just one Mike the Tiger, and he doesn't even come out to games anymore.
Is this a gauntlet? Is he fighting all these other? so I'm
it's-
trying to figure out what
it's
the hell's
not a
going on.
It's a who?
It's one-on-one, one-on-one, like a tournament.
One-on-one. Who could?
All right, I want Bevo and Ralphie in a match. I think that would be fun.
I think that
How would they kill each other?
Bevo and Tusk would be great. The Russian boar from Arkansas. That's a big dude. I saw.
But
a
how
picture of that
tall
thing.
is he? I feel like he doesn't measure up height.
His
Ralphie, I think, is a fair fight.
I
They're
would
probably
say
set
his-
way about the same.
Tusk's shoulders go up to maybe like 5.5 feet, 5 feet. It's bigger than anything on this continent. But
So
seriously,
they had to go from where'd they go get it?
it's from Russia. It's a
Russia?
Russian boar because they couldn't like realistically and for the safety of everybody do an actual Australian style Razorback wild hog.
Let me ask you.
They were like, no, we can't do that. No.
Let me ask
but
you-
they got Mike the Tiger in one state away.
Side note. This is a. This is a side note here. Do you think after each version dies, they eat it?
That's a great question.
Like they have to. They got to be eating Bevo. That's a good burger
Bevo,
right there.
Bevo's been around
Get
for
some
100
steaks.
years. We're gonna have some Texas dude, the only Texas Longhorn to listen to this. I'm really apologizing for how we're pronouncing this incorrectly. if we
It's
are.
Bevo.
It is Bevo.
Yes.
Okay.
You keep saying Bevo. Was he Bevo O'Rourke? Is he,
It is
he's running
Texas,
for
my man.
Senate. He would win.
Oh, you know, if Bevo ran for legislature in Texas, there would be so many write-ins for Hookem.
God, I want Bevo O'Rourke
Okay,
to be a
cool.
running gag.
Okay.
I really do.
Bevo O'Rourke. If somebody in Texas has not started, that,
Seriously, first bit of merch. It's happening right now.
That's a shirt.
This is our first ever shirt. Bevo O'Rourke 2020.
I love it. I love it. Until we get big enough that somebody connected to UT Austin sees it and they're like, hey, nice Longhorns you got on our shirt there. So we gotta do something caricaturized enough that you,
You can make like generic Longhorns.
as
on
long as
there.
it's burnt orange.
Like the shirt itself will
No
be.
one can use the color burnt orange
No.
without Texas's permission.
Is that seriously
No,
true?
I'm just kidding. But you could make.
I wouldn't be surprised because
Yeah.
if you think about
Like
it,
that's what we get sued
what,
for.
there's
You never
only
see it any other.
there's
on any
only
other thing.
three
No, you
other
don't.
major colleges that
Like
have
Tennessee
the color
orange? You don't see that
There's
anywhere.
Tennessee, Clemson, and Syracuse, and those are all universities that I assume are older than Texas. So, you're like, you had me, Brandon.
I shouldn't have said that. Down.
No, that's the only one. But they're the only one that has burnt orange. Like they have their own type of orange.
Burnt orange is not allowed at Crayola because of what they would have to pay UT Austin.
So we don't make the
You have
shirts.
to put the little Longhorn
guys,
symbol
we
on
don't
it.
make the shirts
I need a shirt of
We
Ralphie
make 'em black.
because bison are my favorite animal.
But that's the thing. I think Ralphie would be a good fight.
I think Ralphie would really hold his own in this because
But what would his platform be? What would he run on? Ralphie Sanders? Oh my God. I'm writing these shirts.
Bevo O'Rourke and
Ralphie
It's
Sanders.
the state. You don't have the state connection though.
That's true. That's true.
If we can get some more state connections, but honestly, like
But Bernie likes pot, I guess. I guess
dark
I can.
horse in the kill the mascots though is D2 North Alabama has 2 live
I'm telling you, the
lions
Wildcats.
that actually do like public that are semi-tame enough that they do public appearances that are not college related around the area.
Let me just say, I think that's awesome that a Division II school has that. But I'm looking at this list and I'm thinking, don't count the birds out.
Oh,
Aurora?
Oh yeah.
I watched a video
That
where
Air
like
Force
3
Falcon.
eagles killed a wolf and
She's
ate it,
coming in.
man.
That's nuts.
I've seen
no.
like birds are vicious.
you just pulled something straight off Joe
No,
Rogan.
I watch a lot of weird nature shit. All right.
This sounds like something Joe Rogan said last week.
Yeah, I'm trying to live like Rogan. All right.
I can live like Rogan.
Hashtag live like Rogan.
I think that Auburn has an unfair advantage because they have 2 live eagles, a bald eagle and a golden
There you
eagle,
go.
which are both gigantic.
Does,
There you go.
does
They
Boston
win.
College have one? Is that what you're saying?
I don't know if Boston College has a live eagle. Temple has an owl, and
Owls are pretty mean.
Yeah, that's what birds are nasty, dude. They got this chip on their shoulder,
the thing.
and then they'll dig their talons in you, man.
I wouldn't mind.
Don't
to
sleep
see
on 'em.
If we could get a little action on the Auburn Eagles 1v1 taking on Sir Big Spur of the South Carolina
I get it.
Gamecocks.
It's War Eagle, but it's stupid.
it's like,
Everything Auburn does is stupid.
It's the little brother of Roll Tide. They just tried to do something and then-
yeah, War Eagle.
Yeah, exactly. And so you're the Tigers.
But War.
What the hell's the elephant?
Yeah,
What's
what
a
is up
Crimson
with that?
Tide?
What does
Right.
that have to do with
Same
anything?
thing.
If they had a live elephant, that would be number one.
I think the Crimson Tide was just based out
you
of
can't
the,
you
like,
can't sleep on an elephant.
early 20th century. We have the one solid color and we own that color, kind of like the Browns are the Browns, or like Texas, like you say, owns burnt orange. I think
Stanford
the
Cardinal.
exactly.
color.
So they were the Crimson
double meaning
Tide
'cause they're Catholic.
because
I'm not kidding. That's real.
their stadium looked like a Crimson Tide maybe.
But why does they have a tree?
Like what? Hey, what do you call all the people at a Nebraska home game?
The Sea of Red.
Exactly my point.
Big
Okay.
Red.
We say go Big Red. So
You know, I looked through this list.
we don't have a claim over Scarlet. I'm telling you, at the end of the day,
I'm just not
I'm
a fan
going
of
with
Mike the Tiger.
I'm going with Bevo O'Rourke.
I like.
That's my vote.
Do you
put
get
it on the ballot?
Do you get to use all live mascots at once? Because if so, it comes down to North Alabama and Baylor because you got 2 bears and 2 lions.
What a
If
fucking
it comes down to what?
Because, like they have 2 mascots. Like what if you get
You could use both
Bevo?
of
What if
them.
you get Bevo the 8th and Bevo the 9th? You get the last edition of the school's live mascot
I'm sorry.
because Baylor has 2
This
bears.
is so stupid. Okay.
So you get Ralphie and the previous.
Are you trying to
Ralphie.
tell me the personality factors into this? So like maybe
No, it's not
Bevo 8 is more chill than Bevo 9?
Not exactly, but you need
That's a factor.
you need a co-op to take
Yo,
on
you
You
Baylor.
can't take on 2 bears by
Gotcha.
yourself.
They
That's
need
just-
it. They need a tag team partner.
Exactly.
Okay. So let's think about it this way. Like legit matchups. Let's say take the 2 birds here. So let's take the Falcon versus the Sir Big Spur, which is a great effing name. Good
Oh,
job,
dude, yeah.
Gamecocks in and of itself is a
They've
great name.
owned it, they made it their own and they use it like a fist.
Who was the founder of that college? Was like nobody's ever gonna think of dick jokes when they think of South Carolina Gamecocks.
I think it was probably somebody. I mean, it's a public university, so it's probably ag based, and that's where it comes
Look,
from.
man, we got a lot of Gamecocks around here. Nobody's ever gonna associate that with a penis. Mm-hmm. No, but you know what? I would if I lived in the South
I like Big Spur.
and I
matchup.
had an opportunity to go to, I would go to South Carolina just to be say like I'm a Gamecock. I would own it. It'd be fun. I'm gonna take the Falcon.
You could be an Upper Iowa University peacock. They have their shirts like at Shields. and
No, I'm
places
just
and
a
stuff.
Iowa
Oh, the
Western
peacocks.
Reaver. That's what I am.
Go Cox.
What's your Bulldog? Are you?
What, D-Mac?
No, that's Drake.
We're the Bears.
That's Drake. Drake's the Bulldog.
Bears.
I'm gonna take the Falcon because that's a military bird, my friend.
It's a military bird, but I like. Have you
Who
ever?
you got, Brandon? Deciding vote.
Have you
Aurora
ever
against Sir Big Spur.
Have you ever watched College Game Day when they put the camera on Sir Big Spur? That is an angry motherfucker. And
Because he's a gamecock.
I've seen them, they put a mirror in front of him and he goes to town pecking at the mirror, like, come at me, bro, at the gamecock in the mirror.
It's because birds are fucking crazy. Have we not figured that out yet?
Flightless male birds are very aggressive.
We're lucky there's no ostrich. I was just gonna say that.
Dude, no, don't even, like,
Ostrich would kick some ass.
talk to Courtney about it. It is my one irrational fear. It is
ostrich?
no, they are.
The Kevin Hart.
I have.
That's
She showed it to me.
hilarious.
She showed it to me
Yeah.
because this has been a fear of mine since grade school. Like, first time I went to a zoo, like, that's a dinosaur. It's everything from its knees is wrong about it. Their knees go backwards. It can run. It is like 35 miles. I don't know.
Almost
how
as fast as a cheetah. They're like the second fastest
think
animal.
40 or
And
Cheetah
they're
is
super
first.
aggressive. I don't like a bird that can look me in the eye. I don't like a bird that can open my stomach with one talent. I don't know.
I was at a
We're
zoo
totally
where
off. We're totally off.
I
here.
saw an ostrich. An ostrich ate out of my hand one time at a zoo.
I hate ostrich. They scare me. I don't like the emu in the Avenue of Breeds at the Iowa State Fair. I went to Omaha Zoo last year, and there's that big African enclosure.
They can reach their
the
ostriches- their necks over,
the
man. It
Ostriches
freaks
come
me.
right up to you.
Because they want food.
I was not about it.
They terrify me too.
I walk away. I don't like ostrich. Their eyes are red.
What's the vote here?
Falcon. I would take the falcon.
All right.
Falcon. Okay.
Aurora wins that fight. I'm gonna go back to the original idea I had: Bevo versus Ralphie. Who you got?
I like Ralphie.
I'm trying to do these compared on size.
Right. We should do some comparison ones. We can bring in some dogs.
I would take
too.
Ralphie too.
I like Ralphie because I think that off of like ramming speed, nothing's gonna take out a bison coming at you, man. Like you can have a 10-foot wingspan of your like longhorns.
Why do you love bison so much? Is this why we're getting into it?
Unless the longhorn gets smart. And
Right.
turns his
If
head.
they figure out how to
Is
like
Ralphie wearing a red shirt?
yeah, it's whichever gores the other. Or Ralphie.
But that's the thing,
if you can
bison
just
don't
like
have as.
If
no,
they
they
run
go
in
off.
head-to-head-
They go off more of like
They have-
battering ram style.
But they also don't they have tusks? Don't they? Like
No, they have horns.
they're not long.
Well, they got the horn.
They have
but
horns,
They're not very
but
big.
they're not. No, they're like mountain goat horns, where it's a
But
very
they have a hard
close quarters
skull,
type of.
and
yeah,
they can hit you.
it's
Yeah,
like
yeah.
that. No, I love bison is my favorite animal because they're like the spirit of the American plains. They're beautiful.
So you would easily
They're
be a Colorado.
strong.
You'd easily be a Colorado fan if you lived there, because the buffalo.
Well, if I was like from the state of Colorado, oh yeah, like
they're similar enough.
or state.
North Dakota State.
Well, yeah, those bison. They should move up to Division One.
They don't. They can't.
They can't based on number of athletic programs, but
But they're the Alabama of the FCS. They're always
Basically.
they're always
they're
good.
better than Alabama. They've won like 6 of 8.
They won 4 in a
championships,
row.
which is with a playoff larger than the 10-team system that I won.
I wish they had a live mascot. That'd be fun.
Yeah, live mascots are fun.
Okay, so then you just based on fairness, it's North Alabama versus Baylor because they both have 2.
Right, and I'm taking the Bears.
I'm taking Lions.
Oh, I'm taking the Bears.
Are they male
The
or
two bears
female?
and the 2 lions.
Yeah.
I would say the bears.
I'm taking the Bears because
Bears are big.
I would say
Bigger.
that
Stronger.
if you've ever had a cat, you know how
These are
all-
grizzly bears.
You know how all felines fight and attack. And bears, this is welcome to our sports podcast. Bears are going to use their arms
I'm having a good
and
time.
club the shit out of you, take your head off. And like seriously, bears will use their arms because they know the strength that is within them to like
Sure, yeah.
topple you. And I think that a bear has more brute strength and ferocity, and a lion's more of a cut and run type of animal.
Yeah, they're striking move.
Felines.
You have 2 cats.
I know.
Okay, I think that's all. Oh yeah, Lassie, Revel the Lassie versus Uga. I got Uga. No, Lassie.
Well,
Lassie's
Uga-
she's a military dog. She's fit. Uga, he's a fat fucker.
Well,
He doesn't-
there's some better dog options. New Mexico has
a Lobo.
they have two.
No.
it's
Yeah, it's New Mexico, right?
New
I'm
Mexico's
pretty
the
sure it's,
Lobos.
it's New Mexico or New Mexico State.
No,
One of-
it's
It's
New
New Mexico.
Mexico.
The Aggies.
yeah, they
yeah.
are, but I think it's the Aggies. Then they have 2 live greyhounds. One of them has 2 live greyhounds, and that's kind of cool because they like sprint. They're like trained to like just go all the way across the field like in 10 seconds,
Dude,
before games.
New Mexico having a Lobo would actually be pretty sweet.
You know,
I wonder if they do have a
who
wolf.
does have a Lobo, or they're not technically
DC?
allowed to.
DC Comics.
Yes, but
Welcome to our sports podcast, nerds.
for dogs, the Husky Dub, the Husky at Washington.
Oh, yeah.
But the winner of the dog would be the quarter wolf Siberian Husky mix that is the most legal thing allowed for the wolf pack of North Carolina State.
Ooh.
They have like they have one of those.
Legitimate wolf.
It looks like one of those husky wolf things.
It's like a
where
gray
it's like-
wolf from Game of Thrones.
Exactly. Yeah, the dire wolves.
Yeah. That's coming. This is the year, man. It's coming back. Final season.
I read the books.
Watch this show, dude. The show is great. Welcome to our sports podcast. Let's talk about. We talking about the NFL
Yeah,
now,
let's move on. So with the NFL season ending.
Hold on. Where are we going? Let me know when you guys want to talk about the Packers. I'll put.
Oh,
a
I was gonna
promote.
tease. Yeah,
Gotcha.
do a tease while I go to the bathroom.
Oh, potty break.
Where's that at?
So yes, thank you so much for listening to this. Feel free to check out loudandopinionated.com. It's got the show on there. This month we're adding another show along with this one, I guess. Who knows how long this will live here. But we're adding a new show, The Underachievers. It's going to be a video game podcast. I'm doing it with some friends. We kind of did this before, and we're going to be doing it again. That's going to be really exciting. But how this relates to the NFL, we have 7 articles up there analyzing our favorite teams. So I did one about the Buccaneers. Paul was a guest contributor, and he wrote about the Packers. Derek, one of the co-founders of Loud and Opinionated, he wrote about the Browns because he's a Browns fan for some reason. I believe him, though. I really think they're going to be the playoff team. What do you think?
I think the Browns have a legitimate chance. I like Baker Mayfield.
He's like the good version of Johnny Manziel. Baker Mayfield.
Yeah, I could see that.
No, he's
not quite as crazy, but
he does
he's up there.
He's pretty cocky, but he's actually pretty good. He can
Yeah.
back it up. Derek wrote about them. I had my buddy Chance, who's doing the Underachievers podcast with me. He wrote about the Detroit Lions, Steelers, Chiefs. We got a good variety on there from a bunch of different people, and I thank them very much to take the time out of the day to write those. And so feel free to check those out. I want to say the Buccaneers are a playoff team, but I said that for 2 years, and that's never happened. So
Started out strong this year.
2019.
and then it was like
the year of prep.
it's like how I started the article, it was gone like Fitzmagic.
Fitzmagic is an amazing thing. He's the best bank robber in the world.
No, the Gridiron Heights
Heights
episode
about-
was really funny.
Oh my gosh, Gridiron Heights is so great. I love those. If you know what that is, it's the little Bleacher Report animated minutes for 1 minute each week, and they'll do some 2-minute specials. They're all themed, and it's just what happened like in the NFL that week.
I take it
It's
back.
like Game of Zones that they do for the NBA. It's so funny.
I take it back. My number one goal with this show at the end of the day is to get us guest spots on that show. Bleacher Report, we're available.
Bleacher Report. Yes.
This is one easy purge. the Patrick Mahomes. Oh my God.
Patrick Mahomes' voice, and I love that the rookie voices are always every year.
No,
The
Baker
rookies are all
Mayfield's a
voiced by
baby.
babies. All the rookies are always voiced by babies.
Like
every
2
year.
or 3 year olds.
It's always all the rookies, and it's so funny.
All right. Let's do it. So, what are we talking about, Paul?
Man, well, NFL Week 17, there was just I wanted some hype. I wanted something to look forward to. I wanted something with playoff implications. And what you give me, Tennessee Indy with Blaine Gabbert.
Yeah, that was unfortunate.
Yeah.
And so then, okay, so how are Marcus Mariota's teammates feeling? Because he said, I'm not 100%. And they play the backup quarterback and lose in a win-in-your-in game to the playoffs.
Well, I can say it's kind of on management because they fired their head coach last year for no reason. They got to they won a playoff game last year, didn't they?
No, I like the coach. I don't think
No, they
that it's
fired him though.
But I don't
Mike
think that it's a
Vrabel's
coaching
This isn't the same
problem. I like
coach.
Mike Vrabel. Vrabel, I like him. I think that they have a good coach. But they're just on that 9-7 ride.
They can't win the big game.
It is purgatory in the NFL. You get
But-
stuck in the middle.
When
Yep,
is
you can't do that.
other than their Super Bowl run and like
Best case scenario, you're
in
Cincinnati.
99. Other than that, like Super Bowl run, when have they been relevant? They've never been a very big deal. Even when they've been good, they've never been.
Even when they were the Oilers.
You know,
Well, that's a part of just the fan base not latching on, and you're not catching anything national, and it's just when you get
Kind of like Jacksonville.
right,
Yeah.
like Jacksonville, but like the Seahawks, rebrand yourself with some new jerseys, have some playoff success, and you'll get a semi-national fan base.
but they did that. Tennessee rebranded themselves. They just didn't get to the playoffs.
They just had 1 year of winning, and there's nothing to remember.
Yeah.
Your 1 year of winning can't end with a white receiver 1 yard short of the goal line. It will be forgotten.
But they had that huge comeback against Kansas City.
I think
last
that
year.
Yeah.
So I think that they're good. They can compete in the AFC, but I think
But
the
it's
right
the
team
AFC
won.
South,
The
man.
right
You don't-
team won.
You don't. All you have
Andrew
to really.
Luck has been in the playoffs every year he's played.
Was it his
I
rookie?
think.
I think his rookie and sophomore season, they went back-to-back AFC championships.
No,
No.
that was Mark Sanchez.
Are you
Andrew
sure?
Luck-
He's-
Andrew Luck
How many
made it-
has he been to?
He's been to one AFC championship game. That was Deflategate.
Deflategate.
But
Because-
he
yeah.
his first 3 years he made the playoffs, then he won a game, then he made the championship game.
Okay.
And then he was injured. So
Yeah, and he was out completely for
he kept
last
getting
season.
he
Was
kept,
it? He was out all
basically
season.
the last 2 seasons.
Yeah.
Andrew Luck is the proof that bad things happen to good people. That's
Yeah,
just the God's
yeah.
honest truth about it.
But I mean, look what he's doing now. He
They
doesn't.
finally have a good offensive
He doesn't
line.
even have
They have a
smart
good
phone.
offensive line, but he doesn't have a lot of like. He's doing
They
like
keep trying to. Okay.
he's doing the Tom Brady thing where he doesn't have a lot of big names for a while,
yeah.
and he's still being successful because he's just that good.
So, what team has 2 big skill position players on the trading block within that conference?
I don't know.
Oh,
Tell
it's
me.
the Steelers, man. You got Le'Veon Bell hanging
Oh.
over their heads that they still got to figure out what
That's
they're
but
going to
that's
do. with
$14 million.
But it's also, but now with Antonio Brown after this week,
Antonio
They're
Brown's a
not
big
gonna
one.
trade
Antonio
Bell-
Brown is going to not be on that team next year.
Le'Veon Bell won't, but Antonio Brown will.
I don't think.
Oh, not a
the
chance.
Only, the
Big
reason,
Ben's doing the thing
They're
where he
not gonna
talks
trade
nice
him.
about you in public. Big Ben has been saying great things about him all week, which is what he said about Todd Haley before they fired Todd Haley, because Todd Haley and Ben couldn't get along. And I think that Antonio Brown, he's with what's come out this week. He wasn't at practice, and then
skipped
called on
everything.
Sunday and said, "Hey, I want to play today." That's not how football works. And I think that
and then he
has
left at halftime.
he has and he left at halftime. He left at halftime because they wouldn't. He said, "Well, Tomlin said he's not going to play, so he didn't suit up." And
Well,
he's
what are they
there
gonna
for-
get?
He's there for his teammates, but then he
I'm
said, "Fuck it, I
sorry.
don't even want to be here for my teammates."
I'm sorry. It's everything to blame is on Antonio Brown. But I think this is also a huge problem. That's not just him; it's that entire Pittsburgh locker room because Mike Tomlin has no control over that team.
Yeah, it feels like Mike Tomlin. Has,
Nobody
has
respects
kinda
that
lost the locker room.
guy. He's been there for what? It's gonna be like over 10 years.
14 years, or 10 to 15
Power
years.
left
Yeah, yeah.
when after his Super Bowl win.
It was Tomlin.
and-
It was
Joey's
Tomlin
had-
in 10 when the Packers played him, which was 9 years ago. It was,
Yeah, he's been there about
it was
15,
longer than
16
that,
years,
though.
something
He was
like
there
that.
Longer than that.
He's been there for,
When was
for
the
a very long
Cardinals?
time.
He won
He
when
won
they played the Cardinals, which was the year
43.
before.
Was that 08?
08, yes.
08, yeah. With
That might have been
Warner.
his first year.
Yeah, because that was Super Bowl 43 is when he won that one.
Okay.
But I think it was his second year.
First or second.
Because
That was
Cowher,
early.
because Cowher, he took over in 07 because Cowher left
but they
in 2006.
didn't win back to back, so I
No.
don't think it was his first year.
He has won, only one though, right? He hasn't won
Yes.
two.
The Steelers only won the one.
He is
Because I
been
know
to
that
two,
Big
lost
Ben was
one.
1-2, but one of them was with Cowher.
Correct.
In 06.
Point
Yeah,
is,
Sean Alexander.
there's no control. You have Le'Veon Bell, who's going to be gone. You have Antonio Brown, who's arguably the best receiver in the league.
His returns in a trade are diminishing by the day, though. You are losing value every day that you still have. him
You're
because
right that he's hurting himself too
He
because
costs the Steelers $21 million no matter what. Even if they trade him or not, he is $21
They'll
million,
have to do
but they
something
can't.
before it. When's the new
But
year?
Paul, that's
in
30.
April, right?
That's $35 million because Le'Veon's going to
Le'Veon, they don't owe any
And-
money to.
and Antonio Brown's going
He's not under contract.
He's not anymore?
No, he was on a
Man,
Well, they
franchise.
franchised him. tagged
He was
him.
on a franchise tag, but he didn't sign it,
could
so he
He
was
had,
not
a,
under contract.
he had a report at a certain point.
He
You're
never-
right.
yeah.
and he didn't report.
You're
He
right.
never was under contract.
So they're not going to lose that money.
Steelers.
Okay, but
He lost the money, but
the point is, they're not going to. I don't think they're going to trade it. As toxic as he may seem, they're not going to trade him.
I think
Why?
As-
Why would you trade him? I don't care if he's the
an
worst
older-
person in the locker room.
Because if you have what you
He's the
consider a
best.
franchise quarterback, they can make more personnel decisions than you think within the locker room. You
Big
think
Ben's
that Aaron
37.
Rodgers was not cool with Ty Montgomery getting traded, then he would not have been traded.
Do you think
Ben
that
is
they have a
older,
bigger
though.
bargaining chip because Juju Smith-Schuster is a very, very good second tier? Like,
He's a top receiver.
I think
if he
in
played
the
anywhere
past
else,
10
he'd be
years,
number one.
The Steelers have
Right.
done the best job of drafting receivers in the past 10 years, in my opinion. Because
Or trading
before
for
they,
them, yeah.
before they,
Martavis Bryant.
starting with the
Santonio
end
Holmes.
of starting with the end of Hines Ward, you have Santonio Holmes. Was Randall L there?
Yes.
Yeah. Okay. So you have Randall L, Mike Wallace, Antonio Brown.
Bryant.
The guy that went to Martavis Bryant,
Juju Smith-Schuster.
Emmanuel Sanders,
Yes.
Juju.
so they have
And
a
that's the
really
thing.
good model of drafting, developing, and then you want some money? Yeah, you can find it somewhere
But
else.
that's the thing. Do you think that's the bargaining chip? Because Juju anywhere else is a number one receiver, but he's number two because of Antonio Brown.
This is why I trust the Steelers front office level, because
To get rid of
Antonio Brown is the one receiver that they really gave that money to. They did with Santonio Holmes, and they had Hines Ward for his career, but
you still got Juju on his rookie contract.
yeah, exactly. And so with Mike Wallace, they let him go. With Sanders, I can't remember if they traded him or let him go, but they let Randall L just walk, or he shot himself in the leg, whichever one that was.
Yeah.
No, that was a different dude. That's Plaxico Burress
Plaxico.
who shot himself.
I think
Randall
he
L
was in-
just
He was in
retired.
Pittsburgh for a while.
Thank
I
you.
think.
So
Randall L just left. He retired.
Right, but so they know that AB was the guy that gave the money to. So I trust that if they're gonna trade him, they're gonna want consistency within the administration completely, and they do have Smith-Schuster, which does make it easier.
I think that, to me, that's the only bargaining chip that they have, is that they have Juju.
I think it sends a big message that the players voted Juju team MVP this year. I
he
think
deserved it. He's very good. He's a very good
I think
receiver.
that was
Helped me in fantasy.
me too. I mean, I still sucked, but he helped.
I think that was a message to Antonio Brown of stop being the diva, don't be doing those Facebook lives.
And as much as you don't like Colin Cowherd, he said what you said. He said that being this prima donna diva receiver, it's hurting his value
Who's it
because
helped?
nobody's going to want to sign him.
Yeah, I
Who's
was
it
gonna
ever
say,
helped?
'Cause it didn't help
Odell's
T.O.
been trying the same thing.
No, it didn't help.
It's not working.
T.O. had
Didn't
what,
help
5
T.O.
teams by the end of the year? He
Did not help T.O.
He had, I gotta say, he was on like 5 different teams. He's with
Yeah.
the Niners, with the
Niners,
Eagles,
Eagles,
the Cowboys, and he probably went somewhere else after
Didn't
that.
he do a date with Cincinnati? He was on the same
He played
roster
for
with Ocho
Cincinnati.
Cinco
Yep.
for like a hot minute, 2 games.
Yep.
Then he went and played indoor football. Then he went to Canada, and now he's.
Oh my
this.
gosh! Funny tangent. I was listening to an interview with.
This whole thing is tangents.
Right, I was listening to an interview with what's his name? The Texas running back that was amazing, and then just like left the Dolphins because he wanted to go.
Ricky
smoke weed.
Williams?
Ricky Williams.
Ricky Williams.
is starting up.
The pot-friendly gym.
He's starting up some
No, it's
a pro football.
Oh,
a pro football
the
league.
AAFA is what,
So-
right?
Well, there's the AAF.
I thought it was
Oh, that's the
AAFA.
one he is a part of. Yeah, it's the American
American Athletic Football Association.
Alliance of Football.
Dude,
Alliance of American Football.
it's like fucking dodgeball.
But
the
he's-
ADAA,
I love that.
the
He's
American Dodgeball Association of.
of America. But it's the one they have.
That's a great movie.
They have an Orlando team. They have a San Diego team. There's 8 teams, and I remember him saying there's former players that are a part of this like committee that
Yeah,
has
some
done the
big
rules,
names.
and he said T.O.'s a part of it, and and he said, yeah, man, Terrell wants to play. He thinks he's gonna play. So to this day, T.O. in his mind believes that he's gonna compete
He
with these
still looks
guys.
like he's in great shape.
Oh,
He wanted to play in the NFL this year, I believe.
Well, he can.
Yeah,
look
he said I'm available.
Yeah. He said, you can call me.
he can look like he's in shape, but half of it is can you know the playbook? Do you get along with the personnel? And no, when it comes to him, just no.
I think-
It won't happen.
No, another tangent on Ricky Williams. I don't think it ever took off because now he's doing this. But he legitimately tried to open a pot-friendly gym.
I'm pretty sure he did. Yeah, that where
if it's legal, I don't see why it wouldn't work.
cannabis and like altitude training.
I
are
don't ever
huge
want to
parts
work
of it.
out when I'm smoking weed.
Like-
That's just, but some people do it. No, but I'm saying like there's like legitimate like, but guys like Joe Rogan or a lot of like jiu-jitsu and like MMA fighters smoke a lot of weed, so maybe it works.
Well, it does.
I just thought it was a
does
weird
things
pairing.
for the oxygen or moving throughout your body.
Yeah, but I'm just saying most people when they smoke weed they don't want
And
to
so I
go
think-
lift some weights.
Well, Ricky Williams presented it like I've heard him talking about it, and you're right. And he presented it from the standpoint of this will help you lift weights, and it will help you recover faster because you are opening your bloodstreams, you are doing these things. And I mean, he made it sound scientific, but you know,
Well, I don't know.
Whether that's right or not.
yeah, you know,
you don't know.
hear
I mean, he
all
doesn't have a
sorts of
degree,
stuff.
but whatever.
Mike Tyson's opening a weed university.
Oh my gosh.
A university that has like an open air amphitheater.
Do you want to hear that? Oh god, we got to get off this topic.
Oh, my
but one more thing. The craziest thing I ever read was like in 2018, one of the weirdest things I read. Stone Cold Steve Austin, former pro wrestler. Everybody knows who he is. Smashing the beers, drinking the beers.
Right.
He stopped drinking beer and now he smokes weed.
No.
So now he's stoned Cold Steve Austin.
Are you serious?
I thought of that all by myself. No, yeah, he smokes marijuana now because he lives in California and he's used that to.
On Broken Skull Ranch.
Oh yeah, that's a great show. Have you watched
the
it?
show? No, I know that because
Los Angeles.
he's wearing a hat of that.
It's always BSR.
in his Twitter picture, and I went to his profile after he tweeted about the Iowa State bowl game.
Yeah, I bet
So
a
that's-
bunch of Iowa State fans followed him.
That's how I know what.
Let me
his
tell you,
ranch
if
name
there's
is.
ever one person I would love to meet in real life, would be Stone Cold Steve Austin.
Really, you Stone Cold.
I want to guest on his podcast, the Steve Austin show.
I do Joe Rogan.
Dude, everybody would do.
I
Joe
feel like
Rogan.
if I want to do Joe Rogan, but I want to come at it from a standpoint of I'm going to interview Joe. Like I'm going to come with topics.
he's gonna be on our show.
and it's gonna be like that YouTube video of where he interviews himself. It's just the funniest thing ever.
Joe Rogan meets Ro Jogan.
Have you seen that, Brandon? Do you like Joe Rogan?
Never heard of him.
Oh, he's a former MMA guy. He
Am I
hosted-
cutting this out?
Yeah. He
Okay.
hosted Fear Factor. And did some other. If you saw him, you might recognize. He looks like Dana White, but like 5 years older.
Wild Card Weekend. Let's talk about Wild Card Weekend.
But there's this. I'll send you a link to it because even if you've never watched him, you'll find it hilarious because it's like two mixed up interviews that he's
Somebody
done.
clipped it
And
together.
So it looks like he's interviewing himself, and the conversation totally.
It's like
flows.
the Skip Bayless arguing with
Oh,
himself.
the Aaron Rodgers, Skip Bayless thing. It's that. It's exactly like that, and it's so funny because he's like, like monkeys, they'll like,
They'll rip your face off, and then it cuts to
and then
him,
it cuts
like,
to the other one going like,
that does. Then he takes a sip of his drink and he goes, "That does happen." It's really good.
so funny.
I wish I could edit it like that.
Yeah.
Wild Card Weekend.
Wild Card Weekend. I'm looking
So much of
forward
this I
to
gotta cut
because
out.
Wild Card Weekend is really up in the air. There's a lot of stuff that
This is actually a fun playoff.
It's
picture.
gonna be fun, but it's not gonna be fun now that I have a platform where I have to make predictions.
You don't like predictions?
I'll give you my opinion. I'm gonna circle my picks here real quick.
I mean, I put the lines on there because I plan on going on. My predictions are gonna.
oh,
be
you're gonna
based
go on the
line.
you're following the money.
You
huh?
know, I am going to be the amateur bettor of this podcast network. I have a Bovada account, and I'll do $20 on the odd Celtics game. Usually I lose, but it's fun, and I like playing betting lines. I like doing that.
I've
done the over under a few times, but that just like I don't want to cheer for both teams. It's weird.
Yeah, it's kind of weird, but I would have bet on the semifinals. I would have definitely put money on Clemson.
Oh, I saw
Both of those were
Double digits.
13 and a half, I think, and 14 and a half were the spreads. And
Yeah, it was crazy.
Right.
Then they beat both of them.
Yeah, but I think it was 12 for. But yeah, like 13,
Yeah,
12,
they were
13.
saying
Oklahoma beat their
between
spread.
12 and 14.
Oklahoma beat their spread because Oklahoma
That was the 14
was 2
point, right?
touchdowns. Yeah.
And
They beat their spread because they scored 11. They
I
got
still
within
would
11.
I would have lost money because I would have
All
taken
right.
Bama on that.
All right, so Brandon has his picks. I have my picks.
Well, we got first game of the weekend.
First one.
First game of the weekend is Colts Texans, and
I have the Colts in this one.
you know, I like
He has the Texans.
I like the Colts, but the Texans have the it factor.
They have the better defense in my opinion, and they have J.J. Watt, and they have Jadeveon Clowney, and they have Whitney Merciless. They pass rush, like they can get to the quarterback.
Right.
Now,
I like
Colts
Hopkins,
offensive line is
though.
good.
Hopkins is where I come from at.
and
because
Demaryius Thomas, who's been there.
I don't see the Colts having the ability to do that 60-yard in a play. Even though
Against Tyrann Mathieu.
you got Andrew, right, and you
And
throw
Eric
in that it
Webb-
is,
or no,
it
I'm
is
sorry.
a
But you're taking
above average defense.
But you're taking Colts though on the points.
It's Houston
1 point.
-1, and so
Basically, you're picking the winner
yeah, it's
Yeah,
almost a
that
pick 'em.
close of a yeah.
if it's 1 point.
The reason I picked the Colts is I think you have a legitimate argument with, with the Texans defense. It's been very good. Like the Texans have surprised me at how well they've played. After as bad as they started the season and how they
what a
ended
hot
up.
streak.
0-3 to 9-3.
Yeah,
Yeah, to win the 9 straight games like that, that's impressive. But there's just something about Andrew Luck in the playoffs that it's hard for me to pick against the Colts. I think it'll be a very close game, and I honestly, you're right. This is a hard week to pick because I think all of these games could go either way. But I gotta give it with the Colts, and it's gonna be a late end of the game touchdown drive. Andrew Luck, comeback kid.
so the
Deshaun.
Texans have played this game like for the past 5 years.
Yes.
This
Yes.
is the Texans' game.
Yeah,
It's a home game.
Interdivision home game. They lost
Right.
home game to the Chiefs. 2
Divisional
years ago, I
rivalry.
believe, But
I'm gonna take Houston.
Deshaun Watson, he does not lose.
I think
he
that
does not lose
I
a
think
lot of
the
games.
Colts have
He
a
hasn't in his
chance
career.
if the Colts establish a
NFL.
run game and they make the game plan about controlling the clock and the time of possession, and they do 8-minute drives where you're
Those
grounded
short
and
passes.
pounding because they do have a hugely improved offensive line this year. I think the Colts can really use that to win, but I'm going to take Houston, and I think Houston wins this game.
I agree.
I guess I'll be the contrarian again.
That's why we have 3. Somebody always loses.
All right, Paul. Seahawks Cowboys in
Fun game.
Jerry World.
Yeah,
Who you got?
come back to me.
All right, I'll start. I got the
Move it
Seahawks.
around.
I got the Seahawks simply because this is what the Cowboys do.
Mm-hmm.
They're the Chiefs of the NFC. They'll get into the playoffs and they'll lose. They will find a way to lose this game, and I think the Cowboys lose.
Yeah, I think Jason Garrett will not give the ball to Zeke Elliott enough, and Russell Wilson will make a play. Russell Wilson makes plays in
That-
crunch time. I don't see Russell Wilson getting beat to this Cowboys.
That's the
I
difference.
love watching Russell Wilson in the playoffs.
He's a
Because
different
Russell
animal.
Wilson, unlike Dak Prescott,
He's a
will
different
take
animal.
chances with the ball and make plays.
I
Dak
do like
Prescott,
Amari Cooper though.
I'm going to drop it off
Oh,
6
Amari
yards.
Cooper-
Amari
changed their
Cooper
offense.
changes that Cowboys team and gives them
It gave him a
legitimate
deep
threat
It gave him a deep threat.
besides
sure.
Zeke.
So I'm going to tell you why the Cowboys are going to win this game.
Okay.
The Cowboys are going to win this game, and it's Cowboys 2.5, and I'll take that. I think the
I think I'd
Cowboys are
take.
gonna cover.
In that case, I would probably take the Cowboys.
Here's
in that,
why.
just for the money.
The Seahawks. Okay, first thing, Doug Baldwin is a #1 top 10 receiver. He is great. He's underrated, but the Seahawks' problem is: does Wilson have enough time to get him the ball? Does Wilson have enough time to look through 2 reads before running upfield? And that has been the Seahawks' issue. And
Same with the Colts, and I think the
Right.
Seahawks offensive
But-
line is
but the-
much improved as well with that running
Colts
game.
They managed it, and I really see the Seahawks. They bank on Wilson doing these things, and here's why Cowboys are going to win is because what Russell Wilson does so well out of necessity matches perfectly with the Cowboys' defensive strength.
DeMarcus Lawrence.
They are an incredible
And Van Der Esch.
front seven. Yeah,
And Sean
Van Der
Lee.
Esch and Smith.
And Smith, yes.
And Lee was playing in Week 17. And I think the Cowboys are going to win because they rested Zach Martin and Tyrone Smith in Week 17. And Zeke, yeah. And so I think that they are going to do a little more focus on the ground and pound. They are going to try to, we have the rushing leader this year. We have the rushing champ. Let's run the ball. And I think they're going to run the ball. I think they're going to put incredible pressure on Russell Wilson. And that's why I think the Cowboys are going to win. So then Sunday games, Chargers, Ravens. Brandon, what do you think?
I got the Chargers. I think they're the better team in terms of offense. Now that Ravens defense is second to none. I think 12 points allowed on the season.
I'm sorry, second to Chicago.
You're right. But
Great wording though,
no, but the Ravens they had the best scoring defense in the NFL. 12, like 13 points a game, maybe less. They just played I think that Phillip Rivers, he's been here. It's Lamar Jackson and that running with that stingy Chargers defense, especially on the line with Bosa and Melvin Ingram. They're tough.
I have the Chargers as well, and same reason that you said. I think it's Phillip Rivers' experience in the playoffs gives the Chargers the edge. And the Chargers, if there wasn't for the Rams and all that attention in LA going to the Rams,
very under the radar.
why is everybody? Yeah, why is everybody? They're 12 and 14.
They play in a soccer stadium that they can't fill up.
Nobody,
it's unbelievable.
Nobody really paid attention until the Chargers did that 2-point conversion and beat the Chiefs.
That was so
On
awesome.
national stage, everybody was like,
That was
"Oh wait,
that was a crazy
great.
game. Great
that
game.
drive was so
A
masterful."
lot of great primetime.
And that showed that even in all these years, that Phillip Rivers can still get it done and still pull off games like that. So I think,
But after that game,
Well, that should be on us that we didn't think that Phil Rivers could do this. You know, it just
Look at
talks
his-
about
but
them being hidden
look
in
at
the,
his draft
the
class.
southern corner of America.
look at his draft class; they're still in the NFL.
And
It's him, it's Eli,
He's still
and
Ben, and he's
Ben.
still seen as the third of those, even though he might end with the numbers of the best of them. And that's just the truth.
but no
he's the only
Super
one that
Bowls
doesn't
and
have
no
the Super Bowl though.
Bowls.
Phillip Rivers' career is the reason that Archie Manning said Eli will not play for you. That is as simple and as true as it gets. Phil Rivers being forgotten throughout history and possibly being a top 15 all-time should be quarterback, but will not be remembered that way. Is what Archie feared for Eli. It's an organization that could. He had to hand the ball off 30 times to.
I'm just
Tomlinson.
wondering why. I think after this season, it'd be really funny if he got a spokesman thing with Trojan. Because that dude has way too many kids. That's the thing too. Is
He's got another one.
You're going
coming.
to keep hearing about Phillip Rivers for decades.
He's got
to come.
9 on the
He's
way,
got
right?
9 kids. I bet there's a couple boys in there.
Oh,
they're going to be quarterbacks.
Do you know what his oldest son's name is?
Ocean.
Gunner.
Gunner Rivers.
Gunner Rivers is like the Oklahoma State quarterback 10 years
That
from
is
now.
the coolest goddamn.
Like, that is that guy, bro.
That is a quarterback
He is-
They're
name.
in Stillwater.
I'm telling you, if Gunner Rivers has his choice of college, Phil's going to say, you either going to the Sooners or you're going to Texas Tech, run that air raid. And that's what he's going to do because his name is Gunner.
Did you hear that? That's his Phillip Rivers.
My Phillip Rivers.
What is?
Have you
sound
ever-
like Johnny Bravo? You ever seen that show?
Yeah. That's not-
Do it again.
well, Phil, no.
Because
He went to Oklahoma, but I don't know if he's from Oklahoma. So the
Phillip Rivers.
Yeah.
he went to NC State.
no.
Yes.
Yes.
Who am I thinking that went to Oklahoma then?
Sam Bradford.
Bradford. That's so fucking stupid.
Broken Bradford.
Yeah, no. Who's better at stealing money, Fitzmagic or Bradford?
You got to go with Bradford. I think.
Bradford. It's
What
gotta
did
be
Bradford even do to steal the money? How did he
He
even steal
broke
the
the
money?
rookie scale, dude. He was the last guy to get that number one money, and then they had the CBA lockout and changed the rookie contract scale. He
Yep.
was the last guy to get a super huge number one contract. So Jamarcus Russell should be happy he was drafted before the CBA came up because he would have made like no money and been out the league in 2 years.
What a story.
What a story.
I love my favorite part of it is the one that came out like this year where the guy said that
He wasn't
we would send him
That's hilarious.
we would send him home with blank tapes and say they were game film, and he would come back and said he watched 4 hours of game film. Jamarcus Russell.
This is the only time he'll ever get mentioned in a podcast.
Jamarcus Russell.
Dude, how lazy
that.
how lazy do you have to be like
Well, it's
Get
the
blank
cautionary
tapes
tale
and just
of,
lie about
of
it.
living on talent. It's the cautionary
Yeah.
tale of living on talent, and
because he probably was never challenged at LSU.
one or high school, middle school, anything. He was the biggest guy. He was huge. But one of my favorite sayings ever is hard work beats talent when talent doesn't work hard. And you have the option of being one or both of those in any scenario. And Jamarcus Russell was a talented.
Look at Tom Brady.
He put in exactly
6th-round draft pick, and he has 5 Super Bowl rings.
You can have talent, but have the work to basically put yourself above people with more talent. Or you can either not have the talent and work, or you can have the talent and work. And either way, you can end up above people above you in any situation. Jamarcus Russell just said, I'm gonna drink purple drank in a Tahoe in a Kmart parking lot and get arrested.
Wait,
that's what I'm gonna do with my money.
You drank NyQuil in a parking lot?
I'm pretty sure that's a story. I'm 90% certain.
Anyway, so last pick, the Philadelphia Eagles taking on the Chicago Bears at Ford Field in Chicago. I'm gonna go with the Eagles.
I got the Bears.
This is my money.
I
lock,
got
man.
3.
I'm taking those 6 points. It's Chicago 6, and I'm taking those points. I'm taking the Eagles. The Eagles are going to win this game. Oh, they're dangerous, man.
Here's the thing. I got 3 words. The reason why Philadelphia is going to win. Big Dick Nick. That's all I got to say. Brandon doesn't believe me. I'm telling you. The
dude's rocking a hammer.
How did he do this? How did he come in? Verge.
No, he almost
of getting
retired
eliminated.
like 3 years ago.
Verge of getting eliminated from the playoffs.
When Carson Wentz showed up.
2 years in a row, last year not so much because they were going to get into playoffs no matter what. But this year is more impressive because he had to play very well and get them in. But how does this keep happening? And and the worst part is you're in that situation where Carson Wentz is your number one, like your 1st-round draft pick. You put all this rookie money into him. He's got to be your quarterback because it's Nick Foles. But I like it. I think
the Bears win. That defense is
Khalil
tough.
Mack though.
That defense is tough.
Both defenses are tough.
Yes, the Eagles' defense is tough, but the Eagles' defense in the secondary is injured and not at full strength. That Bears secondary.
But can Trubisky get the ball to the secondary?
Yeah.
That's the difference.
They will go as far as Trubisky will let them. They figured out the running game. Nagy is a great coach. I mean, as a Packer fan, the Bears were the best team in the conference or in the division.
They dominated the North. Ooh.
Oh, absolutely. They
close.
did. No, they were the Kings of the North this year.
It's mostly because the North was really bad this year.
But I do think this game hinges on Trubisky and what he feels comfortable doing versus what he's allowed to do and what he can do.
I think that defense will score a touchdown, and that will be the difference in the game.
Yeah, maybe like a pick 6 or something. Yeah. I could see
or
that.
Or gives a turnover, and they have to go 15 yards. Something like that.
Or like a late game intercept. I think defense will be the difference. I agree with that.
And that's why the Bears will come out on top.
Real quick, I think the biggest thief is Kirk Cousins. $84 million.
I love it. Oh, the Vikings.
He is 5-26 against winning records in his career.
They thought that they got the missing piece.
Well, that's the thing is like
what a joke.
Just like he's always been.
Why did you get rid of Bridgewater?
Lost no money in that
Bridgewater
deal.
was the one that you keep in that scenario, and he is just sitting behind Taysom Hill right now in New Orleans.
I thought he's second string. I thought he's behind Breeze.
Well, that's because Taysom Hill plays every other position.
Yeah, Taysom Hill will wildcat out there and
he does a lot of
flex like the Mormon
he
monster.
Plays on every single team.
T-shirt. Mormon monster.
He plays on all special
like
teams. He's a quarterback.
Taysom Hill.
I forgot they drafted Taysom Hill.
I have a tweet that Taysom Hill is going to be the blueprint that you will see other teams try to draft someone that will become like a Taysom Hill. And I was watching a game and watching a college quarterback. And I'm like, I'm going to see him as a Taysom Hill on an NFL team in a year or two. I can't think of the game.
Before he got hurt,
a playoff game.
Before he got hurt, I would have said Mackenzie Milton from UCF.
Mm-hmm.
That dude can do everything. And I could very well see. And
Mackenzie Milton's the type of person that turns into a Randall Cobb or a Julian Edelman, who is a slot receiver, not a running back.
Yeah, not a
Taysom Hill plays running back a lot.
Bill Polian said that this year about Lamar Jackson. You're racist, so let's just let them play the position they play.
And Mackenzie Milton's white.
No, I think that
he fits the mold.
Lamar Jackson.
He's a good running quarterback.
He's a quick person.
Yeah.
Is he hampering the Ravens? Is he bad for the
Lamar
Ravens?
Jackson?
Yeah. Is he bad?
Why? Because they're going to get rid of Flacco?
No, because I don't think
Flacco's got over $20 million sitting on the bench right now.
I don't think Flacco is. He's not going to.
Well, he's not going to be there.
Exactly. But my point is, he's not going to win. So why not have the guy who's actually?
And he'll
winning?
get it.
Is this what Harbaugh wants going forward? Because you almost have to create a college offense for this guy.
It won't work.
Well, it won't.
No,
work
he'll be
long
like
term.
he'll be RG3,
It won't work.
dude.
It won't. It'll be the RG. It'll be the
he's
RG3.
RG3.
It'll be the RG3 thing.
No, I
over
think it's
again.
better than RG3.
RG3
But
could
you
actually
can't-
throw it a little bit better though.
You can't keep running that offense in the NFL.
You're telling
It's
me
gonna catch
Lamar
up to him.
Jackson
No, you
is
can't.
not an NFL running back, and that's the position he is playing
Correct.
right now.
No, you're absolutely right.
He's running
because
ball 16 times a game.
16 times a game. And if he did that for the entire season, he would be second in carries behind Zeke in the
Exactly.
league. And
Todd
he-
Gurley doesn't
he
even
would
do
get
that.
banged
not
up.
sustainable.
He would get
Absolutely.
hurt.
He would. It's over the course. Cam's gonna get hurt because he.
Cam
runs
is
the ball.
getting hurt.
Absolutely.
Cam is getting
Cam doesn't
hurt.
even know what's
Cam's
going on
bigger,
with his
though.
body. That press conference. Did you guys listen to the press conference where he's basically like, "We've tried this, we've tried that." Like, I don't know, about talking about his shoulder like 3 weeks ago. I felt bad for him,
Yeah.
and it was he was being it was being more honest about an injury than anything I'd ever seen, and that's how I knew that he was genuinely scared. Because he's saying
He
at a
can't
press
throw.
conference, he's saying, I don't know, because
He can't throw.
lift his arm
He
over his
throws
shoulder
it
to
like
throw.
this.
He's like one of the
With his arm
strongest
cocked.
guys in the league, and he can't throw the ball, and it's really sad because he is scared and he's in pain.
And he was. I mean, he was the NFL MVP. Like he was one of the best quarterbacks.
Yeah, a couple of years ago, he was the hottest thing in the league.
McCaffrey's 4th or 5th in the league in rushing yards. This is
He's second
why
in the
they
league in
didn't
receiving.
make the playoffs.
Yeah.
This is why they didn't make the playoffs, is because of the deterioration of Cam. And is it still Jimmy Clausen behind him? Good luck, man. You got nothing.
Yeah.
Well, that's the thing is that's the amazing thing about Nick Foles is you're seeing a situation where Philadelphia took a chance on this guy because he wasn't super. He never didn't.
Oh,
know-
he was cheap. He was
He
a
was
Rams
cheap.
backup before
exactly.
this.
He was cheap, so he's just an easy guy to plug in behind Carson
They
Wentz,
didn't
and
know
they got
who they were going.
he
They
was a
picked him
backup.
before Wentz. Foles was there before Wentz.
Well, they grabbed what's his name, who was going to
Bradford.
be.
who was going to run Chip Kelly's
No,
offense.
was it
yes.
Tebow?
It was
No.
Bradford. It was Bradford.
Oh, you're right. Yes, it was
Bradford and DeMarco Murray. And DeMarco Murray
Yes.
went from being number one in the league in rushing to
From
almost
Cowboys.
like terribly like middle of the pack because Philadelphia didn't have an offensive line.
Yep.
So they had Nick Foles throughout that period, and that's what I'm saying.
When
Is
Wentz
like
was drafted, he was third guy. If
No,
you count
Wentz-
him, well, him and Foles 3 and 2.
They
Whatever.
got rid of Bradford.
was going to be the starter.
They got
and
rid
then
of
they traded
Bradford.
up for Wentz.
They traded Bradford and got the number 2 pick, and then they took Carson Wentz.
Are
Yep.
you sure they were all in camp at one time? Or
No.
who did they have?
it's Jared Goff, but
Bradford went.
Bradford went-
went to Minnesota.
yeah, Bradford went to the Vikings
The
because
Vikings didn't have the 2.
No, they didn't trade the Vikings for the 2. They got rid of Bradford.
yeah, he went to free agency.
Jamarcus Russell was
And that's how they got
July
Nick-
5th,
they got-
2010
they
for
got,
codeine possession.
They got Nick Foles from free agency too.
Nick Foles in one season threw for 29 touchdowns and 2 interceptions with the Eagles before Carson Wentz
Right.
was there.
And so you had that situation. That's why I think it's crazy with the Eagles because we were just talking
They're a
about
scary
that,
team.
how
Oh, the Eagles are scared.
how
The
it's
Eagles
a big
fear
deal.
nobody.
But that's how it's a big deal where they get a guy that comes in as a solid backup. We just went through a list of people where like Cam Newton doesn't have a solid backup. Maybe Joe Flacco for Lamar Jackson.
I think
but-
Nick
Is
Foles
Jim
is out.
Schwartz still their OC? Because that is a big factor
Where?
to me. I love Jim Schwartz.
Where?
He was the Eagles' offensive coordinator last year. I think he still is.
I don't.
But that's the thing with why it's so important to get a franchise quarterback because there's such a drop off from your starting quarterback to your second string. All right.
No, it was Chase Daniels, because Chip Kelly was there with Bradford, and Daniels came in.
Why are we still on this?
It was Daniels and Wentz and Foles, or were the 3, I think. Because I'm looking at their 2016 roster. And there's Chase Daniels. I'm like, that's who it was.
You're really this petty over this?
No, I'm not. I just if I'm not sure of something that I thought I knew, I want to know.
You want to be right.
I want to know.
Wanna tell them
Can
the
you
truth.
show me?
Okay, this isn't on the list, but on the docket of things. But I kind of want to get your guys' thoughts. Before the wild card happens, early predictions. Who do you think is going to the Super Bowl?
Oh, bro, that's on there.
Oh, I didn't see that.
Prepared.
All right, fine.
For Super Bowl, I mean, I'm sticking with what I said about 2 months ago. Saints Chiefs.
I think it's going to be Rams. Chiefs.
I got the Saints and the Chargers.
I like
winning.
Saints Chargers. I really like
That would
Saints
be really
Chargers.
fun, too.
I think that is a huge possibility. And I would take that if I didn't say Chiefs Saints 2 months ago and it was still looking pretty good, because I'm going to stick with that. But I really like the Chargers. I think they have the chance of any team playing this weekend to win the Super Bowl. Honestly,
Yeah,
Bears
I
are
would say
close.
that.
I think the Bears are close, but I don't think they're quite good enough.
I would say Eagles behind Chargers.
You think so?
But yeah, that's just based off of like offensive experience and who's been there, you know.
And apparently Nick Foles just has the secret magic.
Something.
Yeah.
Well, they have a shrine in Chris Long's locker for him. Yeah, they have a shrine where they pray. to Nick.
Yeah. Well, to me, this is interesting because it's hard when you look at like the top seeds and you look at New Orleans, Kansas City, LA Rams, and the Patriots. It seems almost silly to go against the Patriots making it.
Patriots are the weakest bye team.
But the Patriots do not. They're 11-5, but they're not the same team.
they're
Tom
not,
Brady's not the same.
They're not a strong 11-5. Gronk you can single
Gronk is in the
cover
mismatch,
Gronk.
yep.
Yeah, but if Gronk makes a
They
tackle,
don't have
they're
a
12
they don't have a playmaker on the
The
outside
Gronk
anymore.
that was a game changer is not.
No,
there.
he's not the same
You
either.
can single cover Gronk with an athletic outside linebacker and you're good. He's
They don't
not
have the
there.
playmaker on the outside after losing Gordon.
No, and they lost Gordon, and that's huge because in Brady's winning years, he's always had the two guys that can come out of quick slants. He's always had like Edelman and Amendola, or two guys that he can work with when they make it far. And he only has one right now, unless you want to count Hogan. And Hogan is.
I thought he was going to be good, but
Hogan is the guy that they just have run straight downfield to have the safeties watch somebody.
or throw a
That's-
screen to him because he's fast.
Right. And so I don't see the Patriots. They will not make the Super
It's
Bowl.
hard to
and they
count-
might
but
not
it's
make
hard.
the conference championship.
It's hard to count them out, though. I could see them going to an AFC championship.
I think that the Patriots will make the championship, but they'll
lose to the
lose.
Chiefs.
So
They'll
who
lose
do the Patriots not want to play next week? If they're
Next
the 2
week?
seed, it means that they cannot play.
They're playing
No matter what, they
Ravens.
will not play the Colts. So who do they not
Ravens.
want to play?
The Ravens.
I think you're right. I think that the team that would fear the Patriots the most is the Ravens, because Harbaugh knows what he's doing in the playoffs. He knows how to do a ground and pound game where he can take away the things that make your team special because the game is so mundane.
and he's got a dual threat quarterback.
Right.
And
But Tom Brady's weaknesses when it comes to playoffs and Super Bowls has been consistent pressure. Tom Brady's not a scrambler.
that's how the Eagles beat the Patriots. They were giving him no.
Well, that's how the
anyone's
Giants
ever
beat
beat-
him, is
that's how anybody's
because
ever beat
like
them.
they just threw Strahan and OCU and you're at him
That
just
dominant
over and
pass
over.
rush. Well, I
and
mean,
over.
yeah,
exactly.
it's-
You beat the Patriots with
hard.
a pass rush. If
Four-man pass rush.
That's what it is, Brandon.
Has to be.
If you can,
if you can get pressure without blitzing, that's how
if you can
win, yeah.
run like a cover zone with a 4-man pass rush, that is the way to beat the Patriots in a playoff game. And people know that, but it's, can you do that? And that's really what it comes down to.
Because they've had great offensive
Absolutely.
lines as well.
And I think
Brady's still good in the pocket.
I think the Ravens have defensive leadership in Weddle, and they believe in themselves, and Harbaugh knows what he's doing with the system that he's put in there for long enough that, he's played the Patriots how many times in the playoffs. I think you're right. I think they don't want to see the Ravens, which is interesting because the Chargers are going to be the hot team out of this weekend if they win.
Yeah.
Yeah, but in my opinion,
They're a streaky team. So
in
are the
my
Texans.
opinion, I think if the Chargers meet the Patriots might win because of that Phillip Rivers, Tom Brady thing. Like,
the Patriots
just
want a
getting in
no
Phillip Rivers'
defense
head.
game. The Patriots want a game that is like the Super Bowl had no punts. The Patriots want a game where it's we're just throwing the ball. Cool, okay, we can maybe keep up with you. That's what they want to do. How much time you got?
Like
10
15
minutes.
minutes.
Okay.
10, 15 minutes.
All right. So let's just continue that. So if New England doesn't want to see the Ravens, like who does Kansas City not want to see?
The Chargers. 'cause they
Absolutely.
beat
That
them already.
is the ring ding right answer. They are. Andy Reid should be afraid of any coach with playoff experience because you cannot trust Andy Reid in the playoffs. You cannot be
Especially Phillip
behind
Rivers.
Andy Reid
the
teams.
Chiefs have lost 7 straight home playoff games, which is an incredible stat.
For that type of stadium, like you would never even think of that happening in a place like Seattle.
or New Orleans.
if you have that stadium environment where it
Which the
really
Chiefs
is.
do have.
Oh, absolutely. I've been to Arrowhead. It's loud. It's wild, and I got heckled.
Arrowhead was fun.
Arrowhead is fun. Arrowhead's very fun.
I went there
and
as a
it's
Bucs fan when they played the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. They won. The Buccaneers won that game.
Yeah,
It's a couple years ago.
Packers lost. So
I
went
think.
there.
Well, real quick, how exciting is the possibility of a Rams Chiefs rematch? Because that was the best Monday Night Football game I've ever seen. And I imagine that as a Super Bowl,
amazing.
that would be
We all
nuts.
saw that together. Yeah.
Yeah,
I'm excited for a Rams Saints rematch as well.
Oh yeah,
that was
be
another fun
anybody.
game to watch.
Yeah. I'd be really into that
In the
too.
NFC Championship
In the NFC
game.
Championship, that's what I think is going to happen.
There is going to be.
It's going to have to be down to those two. in the
There's
NFC
going to be one
Championship.
letdown game offensively, though. There. I can see 4 or 5 possible matchups this weekend or next weekend or the championship weekend or Super Bowl weekend where I'm like, oh man, that would be huge. Like, Chargers Chiefs, Chargers Rams, Chiefs Saints, anything like that. One of those is going to let us down. One of those is going to have a coach where Sean Payton says, I know how to beat you. Or
Cowboys know how to beat the Saints.
Cowboys know how to beat the Saints, but I think that
You talk about this is the thing when you talk about Brady. That's how you beat him. Is rushing for. That's how the Saints lost to the Cowboys. Drew Brees couldn't throw anywhere.
that is exactly why
Brees is
I'm
6 foot tall.
That's why I'm
8 foot
picking the
tall, yeah.
Cowboys in their game is because
You think the
of-
Cowboys are gonna go deep?
No, I think they're going to win tomorrow. Cowboys are going to win tomorrow because
I thought you were saying they're gonna meet the Saints and
the thing that the Seahawks do, and you missed this, the thing that the Seahawks do and what Russell Wilson does so well meshes perfectly with what the Cowboys do so well right now on defense. And so we know what we're going to see when it's that side of the ball. When it's Seahawks offense, Cowboys defense, we know what we're going to see. We're going to see Russell running
making plays
with Ware, Van Der Esch, or Jalen Smith behind him.
Right.
He's going to be running with somebody behind him. And so it's can he get the ball out in time? And I think with the ball control of Ezekiel Elliott, I think the Cowboys are going to win that game. And depending on who they play in the next round, we could seriously have the NFC Championship in Arlington.
in Arlington.
Really?
Eagles, Cowboys, NFC East showdown.
Eagles or Bears could beat the Saints.
I don't believe that at all.
But it would be in Chicago if it was Chicago. That's what my point.
The
You
only
said in
thing-
Arlington.
I'm picking it. I'm going. No, I think it's gonna be Rams Saints.
So
There's no way.
the Saints are amazing, and the Saints are a lot of fun to watch. The only reason that I am not saying they're going to lose, if the Saints were not the 1 seed, if the Saints had any away game, I would pick against them
Yep.
in their first away game.
Yep.
They play in a dome. Drew Brees is a
They
dome
don't- they
guy.
don't lose
He's a
there.
good weather guy. They do not lose at home. You don't come into who dat, but they don't.
Buccaneers did.
They don't win other places.
Week one.
Okay, week 1. That
That was
was
yeah.
week 1.
That
that was our Fitzmagic.
Yeah, week 1 fluke.
Yeah. Fitzmagic
happened?
cashing in is all
Let's
that
not
was.
talk about.
That's all that was.
Hey, the Packers suck this year too.
Oh, Packers, yeah. That's
Both
3 draft picks in the top 50.
all our teams suck this year. All right, let's just accept it.
Yeah.
Accept it for what it is.
Yeah. But as far as who they don't want to see, if I'm the Rams, I don't want to see the Eagles. I don't want to see the Eagles because the Eagles have been there. The Eagles have a confident
Big Dick
defense.
Nick.
Yeah, and
What about the Bears and just smashing?
I would
them?
be scared of the Bears.
I would be scared
with
of the
Khalil
Bears,
Mack
too.
and that
Well,
defense.
that defense
Oof.
is scary.
I would not be scared of the Bears if the Bears are coming to my house. If I'm going to Chicago in January, I don't want to play that defense
Take that
in
sentence
Chicago in
out of
January.
context and put it in the real world.
And it's-
I would not be scared if Bears were coming to my
And
house.
it sounds like I'm taking on the 2 Baylor mascots. Is what it sounds
exactly like you can do it, buddy.
like. But
The Bears are scary anywhere.
I think if the Eagles win this weekend, I don't want to play the Eagles. I don't want to play the Eagles if they win a playoff game. I don't want to play the Eagles. That's what it comes down to for me.
We've established that Paul does not want to play the Eagles.
More than any other NFC team, like the Seahawks and Cowboys, somebody's going to come out of that game with some confidence. But
They're not gonna win.
They're not going to win.
I think I think the Chargers and the Eagles to me are the 2 scariest teams in the playoffs. On both.
I would agree with you, but every Chargers game is a road game,
That's true.
and I really think
hey,
that's
it's been
gonna
done
matter.
before.
Oh, it's been done. Yeah, Packers won. Packers won the
Steelers did it in Super Bowl 40.
last Packers win in 2011. They were 6 seed, and it was because the Bears let them into the playoffs, which is what they almost did to the Vikings.
Yeah,
And
that's so dumb.
I was really cheering for the Vikings to get into the playoffs, to beat the Bears in the playoffs. I kind of wanted that just because they let the Packers into the
It's
playoffs
like-
and the Packers beat them in the playoffs.
Why would you say, like, I never win the game? Don't try and play these chess pieces.
Absolutely.
Well, if we lose this game intentionally, we can play them next
You
week.
will
Like, that's
always put
dumb.
yourself in the best position by winning the game, except if you want to be like the 8 or 9 seed instead of the 7 seed in the college football playoffs. So you play the 2 seed instead of the 1 seed.
or if you're trying to play
Don't
for
play Bama.
Exactly.
or-
you want to be on the opposite bracket. as Bama.
or if you're in the NFL and you're trying to play for draft order, if you're like, if we lose this game, we'll get the 3rd pick instead of the 4th pick.
Right. Which I think a lot of teams actually screwed that up this year. Like Raiders.
The Raiders.
Buccaneers didn't. Buccaneers did the right thing and lost and got the better
it was like the
draft order.
49ers are like, we're going to try our hardest in every game and just hope we lose these games. But they were like, George Kittle's out here
Hey.
flexing.
Look out for the Niners when Jimmy G is
Two,
healthy.
the Ertz and
The
Kittle
Jimmy
broke
G
the
string, as I like to call
tight
it.
end receiving record this year in the NFL.
Really?
Ertz broke the record, and then Kittle beat him. So Kittle has the record now of most yards by a tight end in history
Yeah.
Yeah.
in a season. 1,300.
Isn't Antonio Gates still playing?
He is. He came back because he came back because Hunter Henry got hurt.
Yeah.
They're like, hey, bro,
They say
we
Henry's
need some
gonna
help,
play.
dude.
They say Henry might be
Yo,
back this week.
Antonio, we missed you.
Yeah, right. Like Gordon Hayward was going to be back in the playoffs last year. Just don't ever try to come back too early. I disagree with that on all fronts.
He was injured before the season even started, though.
Yeah.
So, I mean, it's been 10 months.
1 week since you looked at me.
But with that, you got our picks. You got what we think is going to happen. Don't follow our advice until you find out if we're consistently right or wrong.
Yeah, do not actually spend money on our picks, because maybe Paul, because Paul picked on the you picked on the
I like picking the money line.
actual line, so
Yeah.
maybe you're right.
So what's the end?
Just wrap it up, buddy.
All right. Well, this has been the football podcast for Loud and Opinionated with Jake Williams and Brandon Plecker. I'm Paul Robidoux, and we'll see you after Wild Card Weekend.
His name's Plecker?
Yeah.